I prefer the fried chicken. When they do the fried chicken, it comes with biscuits, which...
People say our caterers are just making shit up at this point. I mean, look,
as long as it tastes good, you can make up whatever you want to make.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right?
Make up whatever you want. We've had some fails in this space.
Yeah, let's.
We're really happy to be here with you guys every day and explain what is for lunch. Trader TV Live does get a catered lunch, and the reason why is so all of us are always pretty much at our desks and so on and so forth. So it's nice to take breaks, that's for sure, but they want to keep us here as much as possible. So they feed us California fresh chicken. So, yeah, so far so good there. All right, it's 11:01. It's great to have Sharif back.
Yes.
There's another host with Sharif. I have no idea who he is, but he looks a little different today, but he's looking sharp as per usual. Professor that is for sure. So we will find out what's going on there. Yeah, I'm sure his trades will be squeaky clean. Thank you, Neil. We will talk to you guys very, very soon. We love Joe.
Mr.
He's
Clean,
here.
baby.
It's Sharif. Glad to have Sharif back, man. It was a great morning show. We've got Adara. The whole crew is here for you. It is now the midday madness. Let's go, Sharif. Thanks, Brendo, for the open. Fabian, Ramin, Andre, Neil, everybody.
Less than 350. We get to 550,000 subs. So get those subscribers higher in the midday, boys.
Oh no. And boom! Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the midday show. He is not Mr. Clean. That is your boy, Joey Options, and I'm Sharif.
Super clean. Oh.
You're always so fresh and so clean, clean. Let's see where everybody is, baby. We got Mike PD right there. We got Michael Baldwin, Joey. We got Roger, Durant, Allen, all the cream. Says Joe. We got Rainmaker, and shout out to Hangry Wife and Brown Lightning. I don't text 9783. That's my man. Phillips, we got S1, we got Andre, we got Bristol, we got Boosted Red Spot and Sahil. Shout out to Solus and Rusty Dutch, Hale, Fine Art, and Grant Ratcliffe. Papacito, wouldn't be a day without Papacito or Hurt Scrambler. We got Freddy 8110, man. We got Jomi 3185. Shout out to Tic Tac Doe. Shout out to you, my man. We got CEO Mixel Ventures and the Commodity King Travman for real. Also joining us is WS Sloan, Mike the Stock Impaler. I always get a chuckle from that name. The Katina man likes it as well. I hope everybody had a fantastic week. Feel freaking great, man. Right back at R&R, looking a little different. I can't really realize myself. I'm losing myself here in the camera. We both look a little bit different, though, my guy. So, you know, whoever hasn't watched the show for a while.
Camera, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm missing something over here.
There you go.
Someone said short Joe's hair, but how are you going to short something that can't go any lower? Yeah, I don't know. But I told you guys, I'm not going out like that, man. I'm not going out like that. No. Yeah, thank you guys all for the kind comments. And obviously, all giggles. A lot of fun stuff. Sharif is back in his chair.
Yes, sir.
That he had a solid vacation. That's what it's all about, man. In the wintertime here in Canada, you got to get out of Dodge. Enough is enough, guys. We're in our second attempt here on SMR. It's actually going to be to the short side, so that's starting to work out pretty well for us here, Sharif. This one I messed up a little bit, and I got out too early, and I never re-engaged. We talked about that last week, but that wasn't the case here. We waited for a potential short signal. Now we're in at a prime time price of around $20.07 as we're starting to climb a little bit lower. If we do have the ability to crack the volume weighted average price, we really might get this rocking and rolling. Also, took one trade here on IBIT, and I messed that one up big time. I added 100% instead of getting out of the position at the crack of the high of the day, and then we take a little bit of a hit there. Nothing to cry home about. See, this should have been my out. No panic. We were waiting for a potential breakdown. Never got that, and then we started to grind. I think it's going to be a nice grinding bid here today in IBIT, but SMR definitely starting to work out for us here, brother.
All right, let's get right to work, baby. Here is what I'm looking at. There's 3 good ones. We've got 8 up on the screen, but it's really the top 3 here that are OMH, EVTV, and UP up. Okay, let's get down to work with OMH. This one's up 60 some odd % to start the morning with a $1.75 high. It is coming back into that 160 level. On the 1 minute, there does seem to be support at the 60 penny level, but when you take a bit of a further look here at the 5, I do like this 1.5 better. Now, I'm keeping my eye closely fixed on prior bar low. Prior bar low takes us to that 152. So you better bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be front running that prior bar low, with the idea that I'm going to plan my dollar cost average, plan DCAs into this level over here, the 150 to 140, 847. Why do I say that level? Well, because the volume weighted average price as well as the 10 exponential moving average on the 5 are both right there. So those are key levels off which I chart and off which I trade. So I'd like to see that level hold up. Moreover, there does seem to be price action support there from the topping tail candle at 10:10 a.m., showing you that there was initial resistance into that 150 area, and to be expected. We always talk about, you know, the half dollar, the whole dollar acting as psychological areas of support and resistance. So your boy is watching OMH here up on the chart. EVTV is a bit more of a stair step up. Look, it's up big on the day. Let's not, you know, crap all over this one. This is the #1 gapper in the market right now, up 245%, but it started off its life far different than how it looks now. In fact, it was sub 50 pennies in the pre-market. Then it really got going right at 7 a.m. We always see those headlines coming at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and then they usually have a way of propelling these stocks which don't have volatility halt parameters in the pre-market. Sometimes, though, they end up giving the ghost by the time the bell rings. This one, This one continues to look real good. In fact, what I see here is a nice bull flag breakout. I want to say right after quarter after 10. We got that initial big candle there on the price action. It was supported by the volume bar that did about 7.5 million shares. So about $1.78 high as it hangs around that mid-60. So EVTV in focus for me. Last but not least, UP up. This one, again, started off its life far different than where it's trading now. In fact, it was about 2/3 of a dollar on Friday. When all was said and done, today it's got a $1.10 high. I like the dollar level, not just, of course, because of the whole dollar psychological support, but because the 10 EMA is now also pointing at that $10, or sorry, that $1 area. So UP, those are the three that I want to focus on. There are others. There's ASST, there's BDSX, even UAMY and TE. TE is technically not really a small cap gapper, but definitely something I want to keep my eyes on. And guys, I'm sure you've already heard it, and it's on there on the screen right there. We are this close to 5,500 subs, and I can't tell you guys enough. You already know how the algorithms work. You hit milestones, you show the algorithm that you like what you're watching, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let us get over that next hurdle. Obviously, you see how much we throw back into the show. You guys know how much this whole thing costs. You guys lived it with us every day with the noise. So all that money, it comes right back into the show, Joey Option.
Yeah, it's right toward you guys. And I mean, yeah, we got a lot of super chats going, man. The comments are flowing in. I mean, hey, we like the new look. We're gonna maybe we stick with it. You never know. We're gonna chill on the close-ups here, though, Assassino. The zoom out ones. No, I'm obviously joking. No, hey. It's all fun and games, guys. Let's see if we can get this rocking and rolling. Aside from that, let's pull up what we're actually looking at here today. And it's kind of similar to what we were looking at last weekend on Friday. We have NewScale. We have APLD reporting last Wednesday after the bell. Great numbers. We like that. Double beat. And then we have silver still on its climb higher. And then Oklo. So signing that deal with Meta. Still continuing its climb higher, but no continuation really from what we were seeing on Friday. It did give up the majority of its move. Didn't do too much outside of the opening drive, but now we're moving sideways. I like this throughout the week. But other than that, guys, let's head over to our scanners and see if there's anything else catching our eye. Once again, once we break this volume-weighted average price, I think that we're going to get rocking and rolling here to the downside in SMR. Why? I'm going to pull it up for you right now, and it's going to head us over to the daily. Now, what we can see here on a 5-minute time frame, you've seen all of those intervals there, but this is a red day, a strong gap up, but we give up all of it and then we gap back down just a couple of pennies, and then sure enough, we're starting to feel that, but I'm going to stick with the flow, and that is a red day So I like the short, regardless if it works or not. At 2020s, I'm out of that trade. It's that simple. So we'll keep our eyes out on SMR. We're going to run through our scans and find other potential setups. Let's head back over to the 5-minute time frame and see what else we got. Netflix found somewhat of a bid this morning, gave up the majority of that move, but slowly starting to recover. I mean, down from 88.91 to a high of around 90.35s. I'll take that all day. And then if we head over to the daily and see what we got, some more buying pressure slowly starting to step in. One thing that I was slightly worried about, again, my average is around 92 bucks. If we hit 85s, I'm at a dodge, and then I'll just re-engage at potentially a lower price. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, I don't know if we're going to even get to those levels, but be patient and wait and see. So I'm still sitting in that full swing position, and I'm not going to get out until proven otherwise. Now, as for Google, some good news coming out on GOOGL, putting in a new all-time high there, Sharif.
Oh.
This could be an absolute monster pick. I don't know if anybody's got this going into their 2026 picks, but I think this is going to continue. And I also like the banks. Even though they're relatively weak here this morning, I'm going to stick with the narrative that they could put in a solid 2026, Sharif. And
I wouldn't be
like
surprised, man.
Yeah.
Remember we kept talking about the regulatory tailwind that they were supposed to get? The Trump administration was supposed to start cutting some of the red tape around banking put in by previous admins. We haven't seen any of that.
No.
Quite frankly, he's been focused on clearly other things. So we still could possibly get that regulatory tailwind, but we'll have to wait and see.
I guess he's kind of started a little bit today, saying 10% on the credit cards as well.
That's more regulation, my boy. He's adding. Right. Anyway, let's get right down to the trades that I've got in right now. Worked my way into OMH. Break even on this one, 156. I do have my planned DCAs. So let's see what OMH is doing. It did breach prior bar low, so still holding up, though, above that 150 area. What do we have on? We have 56s. It's showing me 63s. Let's go ahead and with the beak at 65 and then possibly 69. We still only have an entry-level position in OMH, so I'm not, definitely looking for getting some more, is what I'm trying to say there ineloquently. Up, still haven't worked my way into this one, but I have worked my way into EVTV. EVTV seems to be finding some support here at the 10 EMA, also holding that $0.50 area. What do we have on this one? We have 65s. I still have an order here at 56s that is going unprinted, so packing my patience there. Nice move up here on OMH, so we get a nice little 10-penny winner to start. On this one, beak wet at 65, beak unwet at 69, but that could change. Maybe I should not say that, but we'll have to wait to see if 69 can print there. And then above that, we are going to post at 74. Of course, I'm talking about OMH. I haven't gotten anything into up yet. And the reason I haven't got anything to up, it's in no man's land. It's neither at the dollar nor above prior bar high. So it really hasn't shown me what I need to see in order to get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead with a dip trade right at 101 to defend that $1 area. But I'm actually going to DCA planned dollar cost average into 95 pennies. The reason I like 95 is because that's where the volume weighted average price is, knowing full well that even though VWAP is hanging out there, if it loses the dollar, it may become a harder trade. So I do take some risk by doing that. Now, let me get to the one that's really moving crazy here and the one that Yannick just pointed out to me. Thank you, Yannick, for this one. LVLU. Look, this is a multiple halter. We're going to have to flip to the one to see how many halts. It is once, twice. Obi, he is the one thrice. 4, 5, 6. 6 up halts. No down halts as of yet on LVLU. It's up about 69% now, 1159 high. It's clearly spready. 1174 high, 1197 high. It's going to breach 12 now. Here we go. The breakout is on, holding that previous area of technical resistance. I want to say that 1083 area because that's where we halted. Holds it like a glove, and then there it goes, breaching 12 into 1203. Very, very spready and obviously very volatile. You need to exercise sound risk management skills when trading this one. Otherwise, it may not be so good. Let's go back to OMH because that one's moving in against me now after taking multiple beak wetters. There it is at the $0.50. Is it going to hold the $0.50? I've got my stop below 44s, so if it loses that $0.50 by amount, we're out of this one. So we're going to keep an eye out on that, and it is losing it pretty aggressively here, so we may be in some trouble here on OMH. Let's keep an eye out on that one. Up, just got in there at the dollar, looking for this one into 95 pennies, but I don't have any orders waiting there. Let's go ahead and wait at 96 to see if we can front run that level. What do you got, Joe?
All right, good stuff, guys. We're slowly getting that breakdown. So if we get another bounce off the volume-weighted average price, maybe we piece out 20, 30%. But other than that, the nice curl over, that's exactly what we want to see. It failed to establish a new high right here. And then the weakness within the time and sales, that's something to keep an eye on. So the momentum we want to see pick up, and also the volume on the lower time frames as well. So keep that in mind. W with the cut. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people loving it, man. I'm liking it as well, too. I just woke up Saturday morning, and I guess I chose violence. And I'm like, yeah, let's just get it done. I mean, I was thinking about doing it for quite some time, but I like it, man. It's a good look over here.
Brother. As long as you're happy.
But other than that, let's see. I haven't even gone through the Mag 7 here this morning. We're looking to put on another position, but here goes SMR, Sharif, 1998. You're not going to see anything right now. If the momentum picks up, we're going to add a little bit more to this position because I'm only sitting in around 33% of the amount that I would like. Even though I'm thinking about taking some out as we bounce, Sharif. Let's rock and roll here on SMR, a small bit, 10%. I didn't want to go as heavy as that because I am going to look for another add. If we get a pullback, fail to establish a new low, we're going to look for somewhat of a peak, and then maybe we can get that move a little bit lower. I already displayed to us on the daily what it looks like, so we're going to continue on that path. All right, Joey Pipple. Yeah, we like that, man. Going to come with the names. Super chat, what do we got here? Pop it up there, Assassino. RKLX. Yeah, let's take a look at RKLX for the folks. Thank you very much for that, RKLX. And see what we got going on here in the daily. Okay, so you can see on the 1 minute, whoa, what a pop-up there in SMR. We got to get out of this one now, Sharif. So we locked a little bit in, but then it just came immediately against us to get out break even. I'm going to pull up RLX real quick, but this is what I was talking about not too long ago. Bounce off of VWAP, we take some out, and then sure enough, it comes against us a little bit as it looks like it wants to climb higher and break through this pivot. Is there volume stepping in? Or, yeah, there is volume, but is there any form of a catalyst here on SMR? Because that's a big time move, and buyers stepping in right away. So I'm glad that we got it there. RKLX. Let's head over to the 5 minute and see what we got going on. Yeah, I mean, it's not horrible price action, but I think the daily is a little bit more important. You have tested this previous pivot high, 64.55, and now you're starting to come back in. If you get an open up above that range, maybe you can really get to rocking and rolling. But this is a leverage play, a Rocket Lab 2x leverage, Sharif.
All right, guys, EVTV, we got stopped out of that one. That got pretty aggressive to the downside. Loses that 150 area, actually lost 140 as well, so that'll be our first L on the day. EVTV still up big, so I'm still going to have to keep my eye out on this one. It's still up 214%. Maybe just executed poorly on this. It seems to be finding support at $1.40, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to need to see a little bit more before working my way into this one. The lower highs seem to be operative here, whether you're looking on the 1 or the 5. It's basically a high a day of 178, and then we put in another high of 170, and then it's just incrementally lower and lower and lower. There we go. Now we're looking at OMH break even on this one into the 145 area, looking for this one to pop up back into 150. We've got 145 on, showing me 146, so no beak wetters as of yet. It's not the biggest mover on the day, but it's up about 43%. Still definitely feel that the sellers are in control, especially with that bamboozling candle that we got on the 5 minute at 11:10, which actually took out prior bar high, but ended up losing prior bar low. That is what we call a bearish engulfing candle, and that may not be good. Up, we're okay on. Look, the lower highs are still in play here. It's a $1.10 high that was put in on the candle, I want to say at 11 o'clock, and then every subsequent candle after that has been lower high, lower high, lower high. So I don't want to be too quickly to add here, but we're still in an entry-level position. I'm looking at working my way in to that 95 penny area because that's where I perceive the volume-weighted average price. But a new one here has just reawoken, BDSX. I said very little about this one because it was trading below the volume-weighted average price when we started the show. That was at about $7.80, a little bit higher than 7 3/4. It has now taken out 8, which looks really good if you're looking at the higher lows. but when we take a more nuanced view, we're still very much putting in lower highs. So I need to see something, I want to say generally above that 8 1/3, if really to be more safe, 8 1/2, and then we can see if we can squeeze up into that $9. Technically, it is a 908 high. So BDSX should be in focus here, up a little bit less than 50% as well. And then UAMY is giving me vibes of a flat top break. Let me make my case for you guys. 10:10 a.m., we have that bottoming tail candle that bounces off the volume weighted average price. And then at 10:35 and 10:40, we have higher lows. And then again at 11:10, 11:15, another area higher low. All the while, it seems to be that $8.65 area, which is acting as a flat top, despite the fact, of course, we've been to $8.95, but we spent very, very little time there. So UAMY does feel like it is flat top breakish. Now, sometimes when they do break that level, the flat top, they get pretty aggressive as a lot of short sellers get stopped out once the price action breaks above there. So look for a possible squeeze right above 865, maybe to 875, 880. Sometimes it acts like that, sometimes it really doesn't. So you're gonna have to take that for what it is and just keep your eye on the price action. So those are the ones that I'm looking at right now. I'm not really seeing anything too much that I like other than that. Who do we got? Who do we got? Danny's boy. Shout out to Danny's boy. He's dropping $5 in the chat. We appreciate it. HYMC squeezing. Something's fierce again. These miners have been such a great way to play silver. Say more, man. Let's have a look at HYMC. And we'll do a little TA. Oops, HYMC, what do we got on the daily? This is a beautiful, beautiful looking daily chart. It is literally trading at the day's high at 33.38. Now, it's up 23%, by the way. Let's look at this one from a 5-minute time frame. Look at that flat top break through 32, and now it is on its way to 33.5. HYMC's already earned its way onto the side chart. We're going to take off OPTX, and we're going to put on HYMC, even though, is it technically a small cap gapper? I mean, not really. 2.71 billion, but trading like one today. Thank you very much for that. Look, man, I look for a move into the 10 EMA on the 5, just as it was holding it here on the breakout. It pulls back into the 10 EMA. You buy the 10 EMA, which is currently about 32 2/3. Right now, the high of the day, just taking out the $0.50 again, 33.56. Beautiful look here on HYMC. We're going to pause for a second. We're going to the big desk with Adara.
Keep an eye here in ASTI. This is Ascent Solar Technologies. Just completely based on speculation here on X that this company could actually be tangentially involved in NVIDIA because NVIDIA has backed StarCloud for orbital data centers in space, and it's possible that ASTI could also be involved with that. So again, purely speculative move here in ASTI, but nice push to the upside for this now just over $5 stock. Keep an eye on Novo Nordisk and HYMS as well. Not much of a move here in either of these, but we do have a CEO, Maziar Mike Dustar of Novo Nordisk, saying that apparently compounded versions of their Wegovy weight loss drug are still a bit of a concern. These are comments that are being made here at this JP Morgan Health Conference. Back to you.
Good stuff, good stuff. Thank you very much, Adara. All right, guys, this is my second hockey mistake of the day, so not too good of a start. I wanted to short the TQs all the way up here, but I accidentally went long, and I got out immediately as it started to come here against us, so we're going to have to fix that up. I mean, there it is. I wanted in at 55.90s, and then now we're getting that move down into 79, so that would have been a nice one-to-one right out of the gate on the TQQQs, but that's all right. We'll clean things up. I threw my notebook to the side. I'm like, this thing's just getting in the way. So that could be a little bit of the reason why we were starting to make some mistakes. Now, it's either go with the flow with silver because there's zero chance that I'm going to be shorting this thing whatsoever. A nice steady grind. And if you go back into its previous history, that's what it's been doing for the last couple of sessions, guys. So a nice steady move and then now gapping up, forming a new ATH this morning. As I was looking at the overall market, right, as soon as my eyes opened, I'm like, oh my God, silver once again closing in at $72, trading up to $78 right now almost. So I think that's going to continue on this path. What has gold been up to? Same thing. Another monstrous move. Brandon was talking about it this morning, 20% this year alone. Bro. And I mean, we're in the second week of the year and silver is continuing to climb. I think that's going to be the narrative for quite some time. So yeah, I'm going to go with the flow on silver and just continuously look for those longs. It's unfortunate that we did miss out on that short trade on the TQQQs, but any form of a rebound and a bounce off of key support levels that can now act or prior resistance that can act as support now, I think we're going to be okay. So another post up at this zone. If it starts to reject it, then maybe you can get a little bit of a move to the downside. But it's always important when you are trading the overall market, you got to keep an eye on what Microsoft is up to, what NVDA has been up to, and Amazon has been trading phenomenally as of late as well. So keep that in mind. What's it been doing today? Another solid green one right out of the jump. Let's get this fixed up here so you can see extended trader. Okay, yeah, so that's right. So yeah, here's the 1 minute, nice move, very illiquid in the pre-market, but choppy, choppy, choppy first couple of minutes straight to the top side. You open up around 245 and you get a 3 minute, $3 move within the first 20 minutes. So I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive up days there on Amazon.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Appreciate you, Leanne. $5 super chat. I missed you, Sharif. I've decided to be a small cap gapper fiend. I love that. Oh my goodness. What's up with SOGP and OCG? Say less. Let's have a quick look. Let's take a look at that. Where we got? So we're going to look at SOGP first. Look at this one. What do we got here? Sound Group. Okay. So on SOGP, we're up 26.5%. It was a nice price spike up right at 910. Looks like this one, they issued a letter to shareholders and they said something or another. Let's see. I don't want to read the whole thing, so I'm looking for something that just summarizes super quick. Rapid evolution of AI, macro lie. Voice is undergoing fundamental transformation. Okay, so they're doing something with AI, not surprised there. 1950 high or 1960 high, excuse me. The reason I'm not really looking at this right now, declining volume profile, a pretty aggressive declining volume profile, at least intraday. I'm not talking about the wider time frame on the daily. Lower highs as well on the price action, and most notably, it's lost that $16.50 volume weighted average price area, which is sort of my line in the sand. But it was a nice price spike up. Let's look at it on the daily, in case you're looking for some sort of swing trade. Yeah, definitely breaking trend, and most notably, taking out that $15.50 area where we had resistance. Now it did price spike up into almost 20 bucks. Now it's coming down to 14, 18. So the daily candle not looking that good. It's looking like a topping tail candle. So the reversal could be on for this one. So SOGP, not bad, but definitely, suffering from some profit taking and or, reverse shorting, the mean reversion trade. OCG was the other one you asked, Oriental Culture Holdings. This is the daily on that, so definitely had a good couple of days in early December when it got all the way up to $19. Now it is south of $1, and that south of $1 literally does mean that, guys, this is barely holding on to 2 pennies. It's up 0.91. It's down 5% on the day, despite the fact that it had a very, very strong pre-market where it did pop off. It looked like it closed at 2 pennies on Friday. It got to about 2.5 pennies at the high, I want to say, at right around 9 o'clock, but since that time it's been faded and it really is making a pretty aggressive down move. So intraday, those ones don't work for me. And OCG, I would suggest, I'm not going to suggest anything to you, I shouldn't say that, but I'd be careful with this one because it had such an aggressive move in early December, and now it is very well below the dollar and just holding on for its life here at a penny. So OCG, not the one for me, certainly there. TT Mass, glad to have you back. You were missed. SATL, doing all right today. Let's look at SATL for the G. What do we got here? This is a good looking daily chart. I'm liking the daily on this immediately. Shout out to the rounded bottom lovers over here, and there's plenty. So what do we got? We got a long area of consolidation between $3 and $4. That takes us all the way back. It's almost to, I want to say, geez Louise, if you really want to get really specific with it, all the way back, I want to say to last May, late last May, until we lost that level quite decisively in mid-October. And here we are, rounding off that dollar and working our way back into 3.5. That's a daily. Let's look at the intraday here, higher highs and higher lows. I would trade this as an upward channel where I would just basically look to take profits towards the high end of the what's it called? The trend line, and get in towards the lower end. Currently, it's showing me about 3 1/3 where I'd be punching in, and then I'd be taking out the profits at around 3 mid-50s, because it looks like 55, 56 is where the upper end of the range is. So SATL, not a bad look intraday, not a bad look on the daily. Good call out there. Shout out to my man T-Mass for that one. Not too bad. Now, let's cover my trades. I got stopped out of OMH. This one, it did lose 40. It is trying to regain that trend, but it's below VWAP, so I'm not going to punch in until this one reclaims 5 decisively, okay? So that one is on Uncle Sheriff shit list at the moment. It's not going to make it back on to the trading screen unless and if it gets above that $1.50. UP, look, it's holding that dollar. I'm worried that this one might be manifesting a flat bottom break, but I do have a plan for this one that doesn't include the dollar and includes VWAP, which is at 95 pennies. So I'm not too concerned about this one losing the dollar as of yet. But here's the deal. HYMC, this is looking awfully good. Every time I look at this thing, it is another high of day. It's up 24%. It's not a small cap gapper in the traditional sense, but it's certainly looking like one today. $2.75 billion market cap. So you're going to need to maybe account for your different trading styles given the market cap. And also UAMY, I was saying this one looked like a flat top break candidate. And I was theorizing this one might make it up to 8 3/4. I was wrong by the tune of 3 pennies. It got all the way up from that 860 break all the way to 873. It's still putting in higher highs and higher lows. So UAMY, not the most exciting trade on the day, but certainly one that's continuing to give you that predictable trend of higher highs and higher lows, might be something you guys want to look at there. And then ASST. I have been displeased with how this one has been doing with volume. I know it's done enough volume on the day, but volume is always relative to price, right? And this thing's $1.07. Cares? Who cares? This thing's been holding the 10 EMA like a dang glove. So we're gonna have to work into something here. 106 to 105 is a very interesting area for me to pick up ASST if it does make it back down into that area. So those are the ones I'm looking at right now, Joey. Tell them what you're looking at, my man.
Good stuff, guys. Yeah, so we got all out of that previous trade. That was going to be SMR, and you can see that it's continuing to climb higher. We're down 1.6%, but at this pace, it looks like it wants to go positive, and I think that it had the ability to do so. But let's head over to our scan. Lemons family, yeah, it's at TraderTV. Joseph, feel free to send that picture. He said I'm his long-lost brother, so hey, I wouldn't put it past my dad or anything along those lines, but
I can't believe you just said that. I love it.
Amazon. I'm serious. Hey, but there it is. NFLX, Mara, AMD. Oh my God!
What
look
happened?
At Marathon Digital Go. Here.
Everybody's saying that. Everybody's yelling about that.
Yeah, there it goes, man. So a nice move up to $10.80 right there, and it doesn't look like it wants to stop. What does that mean for IBIT? Let's see what Bitcoin's up to. A new high of the day. I'm so glad we got out of that short. Imagine bag holding that would have been a bad time. But Adair, what do you have for us?
Very timely here, Joe. I actually have the crypto segment. I want to mention here on the 50-minute chart here on Bitcoin, bit of a range here that we've been forming. There's that base of that 90,000 halves. Top here that we're coming into right now around 92,400, currently trading around 92,200. Let's see if we're able to eclipse that level for Mara and for the sake of all these other crypto adjacent stocks. I do want to take a look here at the daily chart of Bitcoin as well. Continuing to do a little bit of a curl here off of these recent lows on November 21st, 2025. Continuing to make these higher lows, the most recent higher low being made here around 89,000, going back to last Thursday. Now, again, I mentioned that 15-minute high going to be 92,400. This is high on the daily chart, though, that we've now tried to get over twice and also served as previous support going back to November. That is going to be 94,800, almost 95,000. So let's see if Bitcoin can get above that $95,000 level. Ethereum looking kind of similar to Bitcoin with these higher lows, though, again, this most recent level of daily resistance not going to be the double tap in the same way as it is on Bitcoin. This level in Ethereum, though, is going to be 3,300, currently trading here around 3,130 as we send you back over to Joe and Sheree.
Very much for that, Adara. I mean, we talk about this on multiple occasions, and I feel like we go over it weekly. Just you have to be cautious with Bitcoin. It's just the multi-month consolidations. So from past experience, and I'm telling you this first-handedly, is that essentially Don't go the contract route. If you're going to buy IBIT, unless it's actually moving in a direction, then you want to go with the flow. But then when you're trading within this range, contract route is not the way to go, because you'll just, every day that goes by that you're stuck in this consolidation, it's just theta loss. And then essentially you can't recoup this. Recover from that. So Jose and I were talking last night, and I said, hey man, there's something I'm missing in longer dated options writing, because we were looking at Amazon, and you're right around the all-time highs, but we were picking up a specific contract, and I talked about it this morning, is that it's lost 80 or 90% of its value, and it's still hovering around the same area. But in previous months, in November, when it was at that all-time high, it was correlated with that contract. But sure enough, when you had that pullback and then you had that recovery, the contract doesn't recover in the same way. It's just too much theta decay, and then sure enough, you're just going to lose all your money, and you're going to be like, why? Well, this is up X amount, and the contract isn't. It's because the decay just destroys the value of the contract. It's extremely important. Now, as for some of these other names, INTC, not doing too much, looking like it wants to break down here, guys. ONDS was something else that I had on my radar, but never really came into play. Strong 5-minute opening drive, but you give up the majority of that move, Sharif, and I don't know if you're going to recover at this point.
All right, I'm in BDSX over here as this one continues to hang out, I should say, above VWAP. We're in at 7s. It's showing me 12s, but it's not continuing through. There's 12, there's 13. Looking for a move here on BDSX. I'd like a move into that 8 1/4. I think that gets us into clean territory. There's 14s again. No prints yet. I'm still waiting at 15s. There's a seller here of note at 14s, and there it goes into 17s. Looking for 20s now. We're waiting at 22s on BDSX. Good breakout here and a good recovery of VWAP. It was really initiated by the higher lows into that 7 1/4. There is 722. Good look there. That's a second print. Let's go ahead and wait now at 33s on this bad boy. I do have plans to get some more, so I do have some in there for some money fills in the 90s as it comes right back into 8 on this one. So looking for a little bit more. Hopefully this won't be a failed trade. UAMY was another one that I just got involved with here. I'm looking for this one to continue to hold the higher lows on UAMY. That's the one that breached that flat top through 860. It's coming back down into 50s. We've built the position in on this one, looking for a little bit more as well. VWAP on UAMY, which I don't think I'll hold to. I think I'll stop out if it loses that 840 area. VWAP, though, should be noted, it's at 833. So keep your eye out on that.
A lot of people saying Tesla breaking out here.
Go for it, baby. Yeah, 1 1/5, Joey.
Yeah, exactly. It just broke through the high of the day there. This is TSLL. You know, this is one of our favorite vehicles to trade with Tesla. A nice consolidation bull flag, and then now you're heading with strong momentum to the top side. Do you want to wait for a pullback? Maybe, possibly, unless there's a catalyst that's going to emerge here momentarily. But look at the volume profile. You can see it start to stair step higher. So that is a genuine breakout if you ask me. Do we want to get involved in Tesla? Not yet, even though it could be a mistake considering you are joining the momentum and a breakout. So keep your eyes out on this. Any form of a pullback, indecisions off of that pullback, and then sure enough, you can participate that way. Buying these highs, these intraday highs, little risky. You've seen Katina Man do it today as well on Google. Didn't work out how he wanted to. Eventually, he did get that bounce, but it's just the momentum. You want to wait for it to cool down a little bit, wait for those pullbacks, and then you can see where the actual strength is going to lie instead of the algos just kicking in, and then sure enough, you're trying to participate, but you've already missed the move because they're so much quicker than what we are, and by the time it hits your scan, the move's already done 80 or 90% of what it's going to before it is going to pull back. Now, as for K-Web, eyes on that. Actually, let's pull this back up here so you guys can see what I got going on. I'm going to be a little bit more patient because I did make 2 hotkey errors this morning, so we're going to wait and
what does that mean?
What, 2 hotkey errors?
Yeah.
I pressed the wrong button twice.
Hotkey. I kept hearing hockey.
Oh, no.
Because you're a hockey guy. I figured that was an expression or something.
Hockey.
My bad.
Sorry. Maybe I speak a little bit. No, I haven't played ever since.
You're good, bro.
Ever since,
Ever
since my surgeon said, yeah, man, what have you been doing playing on it for the past 7 months? I stopped playing, so I haven't played in like a month or so.
And you want to get it ready for it.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
And you know what, man? No, actually, I'm not going to say that. Because I was feeling myself in the gym yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I might just do it one more time, and that's just have one more fight. I might have one more, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to eat my words because it's extensive work, man, especially if you want to win. It's just consistent training. But anyways, Anyways, aside from that, guys, AAL running through our scan. This name is always on there, 22.1 million shares, but there's not, like, look at the lower time frame, very illiquid. Pull up the super chat, my brother. Please look at
Tilray. I saw they were all strong.
Okay,
I think it's just continuation. I looked, guys. I looked. There was nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Oh, okay. So yeah,
have a
on the
look,
1 minute on the daily, you are starting to head towards a key pivot level. If you break and sit on top of $10, maybe you can get somewhat of a continuation. But other than that, let's go with the flow. Let's head back to Tesla and see what it's up to right now. Maybe we'll get that pullback here, guys.
All right, guys. LVLU. This is the halter. It's up about 98%, and here it goes again. It just touched. I just mean like a quick glance off the volume weighted average price, which is essentially the low of this candle on the 5. 1240 exactly is the low of this candle, rocketing right back up into 1366. I think the high of this candle is exactly the $0.75 at 75. So LVLU on the NQ up 100%. It's a bit more expensive of a small cap gapper. It's not that expensive, 13 and change. It's not the single digit ones that you often see us trade or me trade. So keep your eye out on this one. It is a multiple halter. I do believe all the halts have been to the high side, and there usually is a time when that won't be the case anymore. So be on the lookout there, guys, but dancing around that 14, high 13 areas. Limit up is 1437 currently, but that could change at any moment, so be on the lookout. All right, let's see. Oops. What I just do there on BDSX, minimize my level 2. What do we got here on BDSX? Still trying to pick up the higher lows. Prior bar high on this one is 21s. Current bar high is only 8s. So clearly we're getting some selling at 8 here on BDSX. I just don't want this one to be, you know, that failed breach of VWAP, then have it drop right back below, and then me holding the bag. So very much on the lookout for that. And then UAMY, this is going to be my line in the sand below 840. It seems to have found the money fills on the 20 EMA on the 5, but I'm not going to try to keep guessing if that's going to be the case. So if it loses 840, it loses 840, I'm out. We've got on this one 61s, so we will lose 20 pennies on this bad boy. And then UP continuing to hold that $1 area. Now, what I want to see here on UP to add a little bit more is the formation of those higher lows. So if it comes back in and it showed me a whole bunch of lower highs and lower lows, but then finds support at the dollar, changes its tune, starts putting in higher lows and higher highs, I'm going to add into this one with a 110 high. I feel that we could breach that. So be on the lookout for that. We'll see what we can get here on UP, and we'll try to ride this into the high of the day. I've been trying to think of a way to get into LVLU and limit the risk, but even though this one did find a whole bunch of support at the volume weighted average price, when you look at the 5-minute chart, there's no break in that lower high candle formation that we see. It's a 441 high that was put in on the candle at 1125, and then every subsequent 5-minute candle after that has been a little bit lower. So I don't want to be caught guessing here. Let it change trend, and then I'll ride that, you know, who knows if it moves up, but I'll ride that wave up if it does find that kind of support. Let's look back to up here. We added at 2s. Now it's showing me 5s. Let's go ahead and post that 5. And then OMH is reawakening here, guys. This one stopped me out pretty aggressively. I had 3 adds into this one, then it lost my level. And here it is, reclaiming the $1.50 level again, as well as taking out that volume weighted average price. These are the ones I struggle the most with, the ones that lose all my levels and then reclaim them. I feel like I'm traumatized by them, or I lack trust in them, and therefore I don't get in when it's showing me signs that I should be getting in. So OMH, keep your eye out on that one. This one could be making another move up over here. Last but not least, how are we doing on UAMY? Looks like we are finding momentary support at the 20 EMA on the 5, but I don't want to be guessing. My stop remains at 840. David Treziak, he's dropping 10 in the chat.
Thanks, brother.
Joe, heard you got surgery coming up. You'll be back on the ice soon. Dale. Sorry, last Pitbull reference. I love that.
All right, yeah, I get that. Yeah, man.
You're giving shades of Pitbull a little bit today, my boy.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
I
I'm
like
all right
that.
with
Pitbull, he's a
Mr.
multi-millionaire.
Worldwide,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Mr. 305, baby.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you very much for that, David. Yeah, surprisingly to think, I'll be 34 years old by the time that I probably step back on the well, I shouldn't say that, but play an actual game, because I'm not going the route that I did before. I was in my early 20s, and it was weird. After I graduated, it was like a week after is when I tore my ACL the first time, and I just came back too early. I was just like trying to play sports. Obviously, I was working out and everything along those lines, but I injured it for sure a couple of times unnecessarily, and I'm not going that route again because it's just not fun, and I don't want to have to go through that. But yeah, I'll be 34 by the time I play a next game, but it's all right, man. There's
I don't
plenty of
mean
other
crap,
things that
bro. You're going to dominate. You can
yeah, I'm going to be
dominate.
hey, listen, man, I'm going to stay in shape. I'm going to continuously work out, but as for like anything competitive, we'll be relaxing a little bit on that. But guys, take a look at silver. And once again, thank you very much for that, David. Very much appreciated. Another bounce. It started to sell off aggressively, but just due to the strength within this commodity, it just gets bought back up immediately. The midday featuring Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, if that doesn't get you to
don't stop the party.
Yeah, that thing goes everywhere. I mean, if that doesn't get you to like and subscribe, I don't know what will at the end of the day. Maybe our picks. I don't know. But yeah, guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Did I lose a bet? No, I did not. I told you, I woke up Saturday morning and I just chose violence, and then I went to the gym. So yeah, that's what we got going on. No, back into these markets, guys. Let's take a look at the TQQs and see what we got going on. So you can see that we had this high, a lot of selling pressure in these candles here, and then sure enough, we're starting to form this consolidation. If this neckline breaks, watch out for a little bit of a move south of it, and then maybe you'll get somewhat of a rebound. If the momentum picks up, then be cautious of that move, especially if you're looking for a long. So there it is. As we're talking about it, a nice breakdown in the TQQs right now. Sharif, is this momentum going to be sustained? We'll be patient and wait and see. But here's a good opportunity for me to engage in silver. We'll start relatively small, guys. Let's get involved in something. I think at this point we can break through that high of the day and then maybe head into 79s. I think this is going to be a slow grinder, and I want to be a part of it. I didn't even punch. Okay, we'll post up exactly where we are.
BDSX, guys. BDSX monster breakout. Look at this, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to hold into the halt, guys. We got 07s. It's going to halt at 97. Here we freaking go on BDSX. 64%. We need a couple of more seconds on this, and halt. There we go. Beautiful. 896 high, guys. There we go. Now it's showing 899 tap. So BDSX, there's the breakout. The accumulation above the volume weighted average price really was the tell, and the flat top breakthrough, I think 8.25. Nice, Jacques. Good one to see there. Shout out to Mike as well. You called that one as well, my man. Good look there. Sorry to interrupt you, Joey. You were talking to somebody. I think you have a super chat here as well for you. Leanne dropping 10 in the chat. Joe, Joey, bag of donuts.
What does that mean?
CC, I don't know, bro. I'm just reading what's written. CCL call at 32. What do you think? I have ACL reconstruction right knee after hitting 7 3-pointers. There you go.
Yeah, no, it's not funny.
Yeah,
so basketball, it seems to be the bearer of bad news when it comes to the good old knee ligaments. But we're in the TQs. Thank you very much for that, Leanne. I'm sorry that happened to you, but the basketball is it's a dangerous one. But let's head over to the TQs because we were instant ITM on this one. We flip long, seen a nice hammer candle print. This is literally what I was talking about. If you rewind 40 seconds before Sharif had his breakout, I'm like, hey, watch out for a move below this support level and then an aggressive bounce back. So if we are fortunate enough to break this previous pivot high, then I think we can go and test the high of the day. But we're instant ITM on this TQs trade, and maybe we'll piece a little bit out here momentarily if this move isn't held up. But we got another super chat here, Sharif. We'll hit the bang on this one. Gimo, what's going on? 10, I don't even know what an RON is, but thank you very much. Plug going like it's a fireball. Let's take a look at Plug Power for you. And see if we go. Yeah, I mean, there it is. Bang. A nice move to the top side in Plug. See what the daily's been up to. I mean, this name was at the point of being delisted, I think, at some point. Considering it was like $1.43 or something along those lines. Yeah, okay, so there goes TQs right back in. So that could have been a liquidity grab, but we'll monitor that in a second. If you sit on top of this range, I think you can be off to the races there in plug power. Now, as for the TQQQs, moving lower, Sharif,
yes, sir.
A little bit of bamboozlement there. Oh, and I caught a fill on SLV. So we like that silver working out for us right now. I'm going to stick in this for as long as I can, but we'll get out of the TQQQs exactly when we're supposed to. If it breaks down past 55.65, then see you later, because we did fail to establish a new high in the TQQQs.
All right, just keeping an eye here on UAMY, back to break even on this one. It's only up 12.5%, but I do like the look of this one's jib here because it does seem to find the money fills in and around the 20 EMA. Now, we still have not taken a print on this. 61 I've got showing me 62s. I'm looking for a continuation possibly into that 895 high. That was the price spike that we got. I want to say it around 950 and then 955. I do have a bias, though, that this one has resistance at 860, even though it's been above 860 a bunch of times. But take a look at the prints of this one above 860. They barely last. They spend very little time there. So clearly, some sort of algorithm or short seller and or profit taker is looking to this 860-ish area as you know, an interesting area for them. Now, what they plan to do with it, I have no idea. Okay. Now, I just got to get back to this one here because we're caught in a halt, an up halt on BDSX, and the deal with this one is we're seeing a tap at $9, which isn't that much because we halted at 896. Now, this one will open up at the earliest at 1150.51, having halted at 1145.51. So if you're a newer small cap trader, these ones, well, if you're a newer trader in general, these volatility halts, they come in waves of 5 minutes. Sometimes they're 5, 10, 15, etc. So that's how we're able to know exactly when to expect them to open up. So right now I'm seeing 1150.05, so we have another 50 seconds or so. But there goes UAMY. Yes, you little punk. Take out some levels there. There it goes, right back above 860. Show me 69er. And we just actually wet the beak at 70. Next profit taker, 77s, then 85. So let's see if this one can work and stay above that 860, because I just finished mentioning it really does have a hard time staying above that 860 area for any prolonged period. We have 59s on this one now. So we'll see exactly what this one has to offer. Just before we send it back to Joe, I want to wait here until we get the opening of this one. I do believe it's only about 5 seconds to wait. Now we're seeing a tap of 918. So good look. And there it goes. Joey freaking options. Unreal. Into the high there, 940. Good trade on this one. Really happy with this trade. It's a 954 high as it got an aggressive price spike. But look at the blood, bleeding its own blood, as you always say, Joe. Off that topping tail candle, 954, losing it in a hurry into 875. I'm already out of this one, but be careful here. Now, give you the levels. 8.25 is a buy area for me. The 8.25 is where the 10 EMA is, and it's also where we had a lot of resistance. It was hard to take out 8.25. So if it does make its way down there, I'd like to be a buyer in and around that area if it makes its way down there. Now, separately, OMH is really going. This one's going to haunt me at night, but I followed my rules. I couldn't keep DCAing into an oblivion. Anyway, this one's at 165 now with a 175 high. It was as low as 135. In fact, I actually got out at 137. So right back into getting out literally at the area low. There's nothing I can do about that. I had to follow my rules, but there it is, 165, and now looking at taking out the high of the day. If you're really doing some TA, though, it really needs to break above that 1110 candle, which is a 168 high. That's how it breaks the lower high trend. Other than that, there's no general area high other than that 168 or the high of the day at 175. So be on the lookout for that as well. And then UAMY, as soon as it made that price spike up into the 70s, there it is, right back down into the high 50s, low 60s. This one definitely is having trouble with 860, and I won't be convinced any different. It does not spend that much time above that area, so you need to account for that if you're going to trade this one, Joe.
Right on, right on. All right, yeah, guys, I mean, there goes the TQs. We were talking about breaking through this previous pivot, so we take a little bit of profit off, about 15%, and there we go, another pop to the top side in the TQQs, Gorev. Hopefully you got involved on this one. Look at this hammer candle print on the 1 minute time frame. There it is, right approximately right here. You get that strong move up. It's not that clean right here. It was showing something else on my other scan. Let me pull it up so you can see it more clearly. You can see clearly now.
The rain
yeah, I mean,
is gone.
hey man, there's a lot of love in the chat, and I just want to show
like
you guys.
it,
I appreciate it in regards to the surgery, whatever it may be. It truly means a lot. And once again, thank you all very much for the kind words and everything. So I'm pretty sure I'll be all right.
You're gonna be great.
Yeah,
bro.
I think I'm gonna be.
I
good.
told you, man. You're writing yourself a new check there.
Yeah.
You are, because once all the healing is done, you don't even know.
Well,
bro.
I already told everybody like that I played hockey with and some of the other guys. I'm like, hey man, I was spanking you guys around with one leg. What happens when I get
exactly.
I get two legs?
That's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna dominate.
Yeah, and I'll wear my brace and everything along those lines. But no, let's head it over here, guys. Back over to what we got going on here in the Nasdaq. It was on the 1 minute. We can't see it right now, but oh, here it is. Boom! You get that clean flush to the top side. It does an additional liquidity grab a little bit lower, but now we're starting to head towards the high of the day. I'm going to piece a little bit more out as we establish a new one here momentarily. Just to take a little bit off. There we go. We don't want to mess up. No more hockey errors today for the kid as the Nasdaq almost touches into that 55.95. I think we can head into 56s on the TQQQs at this point, and SLV slowly starting to cook up for us. I think this is a name that I'm just going to consistently keep buying and allow it to grind higher and higher. At this point, I told you, I think we can run into 79 by the end of the day, a gap and go on SLV, Sharif.
I like that. This guy's talking gap and go. This is big boy
gap
talk.
and go.
Man, silver, geez Louise. SLV is up almost, well, it is now up 7 3/4, so the strength is on that one. Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on these into the new year, because like I was talking to you guys about before I left, like one of the main things that you read in John J. Murphy's technical analysis of the financial markets, he has this bias that commodities tend to trend for far longer than equities, but when they turn, and this one certainly has not turned yet. And I think it does have the macro environment to continue. It has like the fundamentals supporting it. You know, other countries want to de-dollarize, right? They don't want to be subject to the whims of the United States in case, you know, they rub President Trump the wrong way. They get caught with some sanction hands there. Well, we saw what happened with Russia, and, you know, no countries want that smoke. So, hey, instead of holding U.S. dollars and hoarding U.S. dollars, they're hoarding these precious metals. So it is what it is, and we're just going to kind of move with the flow there. EVTV, I want to go back to this one. Where's it at? I think I took it off for, was it LVLU, I think? Yes, it was. Okay, so this one's really starting to curl now. Now the deal is, it's got a bit of a range here. It's got $1.40 as support and $1.50 as resistance. I want to see how this resolves. If it catches an aggressive bid and starts breaking these lower highs, I'm going to try again my hand here at EVTV. I'm already negative on it, so we're already 0 for 1 on this bad boy. But I like what I see, still far above the volume weighted average price, so still playable for me anyway, in the sense that it doesn't breach my rules of trading something below VWAP. VWAP, by the way, is at the $1.20, so it's still far higher. Now, that's all well and good. It's not putting in any higher highs, though, and that's what we're involved in. We're involved for, I should say. We're looking for those higher highs. Let's go. Get it, Joey.
Yeah,
Fluffy. Silver is going up because China is buying physical silver, as in U.S. we are doing arbitrage, basically just trading. Hope that makes sense. Sorry for spelling errors. No. You're absolutely right. And we've been talking about this as well. Elon Musk making the case, well, and many others, to be fair, making the case that there are so many industrial uses for silver, and obviously the Chinese, being probably the biggest manufacturing hub in the world, are definitely going to have use for that. Whereas, you know, we're buying it because it's going up. I see your point. It doesn't change the trade for me anyway, though. But thank you for chiming in on that. I do like it. Shout out to the Fluffsters. What are you looking at, Joey?
Look what Fabian been writing in the chat. He's like, yeah, silver calls, let's go. I'm like, Fabian?
He's talking about calls,
Dude,
eh?
he's like silver June 18th, 69.50.
He's a dangerous
calls.
man, bro.
I'm like, dude, who do you think you are?
What, you've got exclusive domain here on
No, I'm
options
saying
or something?
in a good way. Like, let's rock and roll, man. Like,
My man.
I'm past that. We're not going to say let's party anymore, but we're going to hit the Stone Cold Steve Austin. There for my boy Fabian, man. Nice work, brother. And you know what? Dude, what a veteran move for buying time. I like that. Yeah, Fabian options. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be sitting in this chair momentarily. But guys, there goes the TQQQs. A nice move. We didn't get faked out. And then sure enough, a volatility spike to the downside. And then now we're putting in an additional HOD. Who does the TQQQs think it is? Fabian, watch out here as it's continuing to climb higher. A nice move. We're going positive here. Oh, this is the leverage. So Nasdaq still slightly negative, but a nice move to the top side in the TQQQs. That's all it takes. Hot key errors where, not over here anymore, Shreve. We clean that out. We threw our notebook to the side because that was getting in our way, and then sure enough, we're starting to climb a little bit higher. An aggressive pullback, but also SLV. Let's pull that bad boy up as it's continuing to grind higher. We're going to be talking a lot about this. Fabian, you better not have silver on that pick, brother. Otherwise, I don't know what else to say to you. Oh,
what happened?
Apparently, they're saying that you can pick short side as well too, so you can.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Their picks are picks, right?
Picks a pick. Pick it up then. By all means, we'll hit the money. But there it goes. SLV up 7 3/4 here on the day, heading into that $78. If we do break that 78.10, I think we can head to 50s, and then who knows what comes by 4 o'clock. Can we be at 79? I think so.
I didn't really know we were doing this until today. I got it, like everyone's talking about it on the show, and I just don't want to sound like a goofy. So I was like, yeah, I'm ready, right? I'm gonna have to think about this a little bit, but I want to
have a general idea of what
defense sectors. I just think there's just gonna be. I hate to put it this way, but there's gonna be a lot of military posturing in the next year, you know? So I think defense names, like they weren't already good, they're already pretty good. It's just which ones, that's the thing. I might just take an ETF.
I think what the real question is here is how many picks are we going with? Are we going with
3? Are we gonna do 3?
4 or 5? 3. Oh,
we're doing 3, says the Chilean Nightmare. He's not sure. Can they hear you? Okay, so I want to know so I can repeat it. He's like, he's not really sure how we're selecting it, but we're going to figure that out.
I feel like it should be fine if you have overlapping picks, to be honest with you.
What do you mean? Oh, between people?
Yeah,
there's
like,
2 people can look.
Exactly.
Of course, I 100% agree.
Trade pool.
100% agree with you.
Decided to pick that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't just dominate
see what Neil has to say about that here momentarily.
Yeah, well, he's going to be on momentarily. We're going to go to a dare for happening now. So here we go. EVTV is taking it out. Finally, we're making some money back on this one. We're in at 54. We just wet the beak there at 63. Looking for continuation. We're waiting at 67s. And then we're going to keep an eye out on this one. So EVTV, the reason I was insistent on getting back into this one, I perceived a range. I'm talking about that $1.40 to that $1.50. Once we broke it, that range, and we broke it with aggressive volume and a nice price spike up. So good look on this one, keeping a close eye on EVTV, but I've been burned on it before. It's up 245%, so it'll likely have a lot of people's eyes, as it is, I think, the #1 gapper in the market, at least over $1 for now. So here's the deal. We're sending you to the big desk for happening now. Then Neil is going to do his lesson of the day.
This market just keeps trekking higher. Here is the S&P 500. Let's see if we can break Friday's high here, 695 and a third, currently trading around 694 halves. But either way, nice push to the upside here for the market. We know the market initially gapped down. There were some concerns here about the future of Fed independence when we have news that Fed Chair Powell is being investigated by the Department of Justice. We know that Fed Chair Powell has had a bit of a tumultuous relationship with U.S. President Donald Trump, especially as of late. Certainly on watch, though, Kevin Hassett, who is actually being considered one of Trump's top picks to take the Fed Chair position over from Powell when his term expires in May of 2026. We did actually already have Hassett say that Trump, as far as he knows, wasn't even briefed on the Powell DOJ report. So interesting look there. We also have to talk here about GEO-OGL, certainly helping the market to the upside, at least briefly, and briefly touching that $4 trillion market cap spot. Apple and Google entering into a multi-year collaboration following months of reports and speculation here. It looks like Apple now will be using Google's Gemini models as the basis for its Siri AI integration, hopefully to be released this year. I also want to mention here with Google, there was a Walmart headline too, WMT and GEO-OGL, with some AI shopping integration. And last but not least, we have to talk about United Health, UNH on watch here, with another report of potentially bad behavior on their part, a Senate report that was then later reported on by the Wall Street Journal, suggesting that there could be some concerns here with UNH's use of Medicare diagnoses. So interesting look here for United Health. The stock, though, certainly not faring as badly as it could be on this news. Now, before we send you over to Neil and an always exciting lesson of the day, we're going to take a moment to thank our friends at Origenics. Because concussions demand fast solutions. NYSE-listed Origenics, OGEN, is developing one designed to reach the brain quickly and not invasively. How do you learn more? Schedule a meeting today. Thank you very much to our friends at Origenics, and thank you very much to our good friend Neil Roberts, who will be giving us a lesson of the day. Neil, what's today's lesson?
Thank you very much, Adara. The lesson today is sometimes the best trade you can make is one that you don't make. No matter what your plan of action is, even if you're like, this is the level I like, or the stock that I'm watching, this is going to be it today. If it's not doing what you're expecting, then you got to be able to take a step back. Or if what you were looking for has possibly already happened and you weren't in it, then you also sometimes need to take a step back. Because there's a real big danger about what you think might be the most explosive type of opportunity. I'm going to show you a few things. One of them is going to be a firm here. And what can be scary about this is if you get confirmation of something first time through, and then it comes, and then the open happens, and you have an opportunity to make the trade, you're like, oh, well, it happened once and it gave you like $1 or whatever the target might be. You might end up liking it even more, despite the fact it doesn't set up. And someone earlier asked me, why don't you do this or that? And I said, well, because a setup in a trade is very different from just a stock being a particular price or going in a certain direction. And a firm was gapped up because of the headline on Friday, or late Friday, that the president wanted to take aim at credit card, limiting the credit card interest rates for a year. They're gapped up pretty much all the buy now, pay laters and some of the fintech stocks. A firm was on a daily chart breakout anyways, like it was already looking like a consolidation and then a break higher. And you had the prior high where it gapped over. I said, well, if 83 bounces, you got to go long, right? Well, unfortunately, this candle is not the open. This is the candle before the open, where it trends all the way down, all pre-market, into 83, and then bounces $1. Now, if you're someone who's like, oh, 83 bounce, well, that's the kind of trade that, like, around here, you get that, you're like, oh, for sure. Look at the support at the 83 level. So support was there. But what happens at the open? It's the literal opposite. So it goes in, it sells all morning long into that level to catch a bid right before the open. It would seem like that is going to be the jam. That's the thing on the list. I should be trading this. I should be trying to go long. But what happens right away? It opens trying to break 84. It's a fail break. It's under VWAP. It closes underneath 83. And then we open rejecting 83. Now, how many times, sometimes when you fight a stock, do you try to make something happen and it's just because you like the long? Like, what was my condition? Is it holding 83 at the open? Then I like the long. Was it? No. I don't have to be short, but I certainly can't be long that stock if I'm following my plan of action. And just to give you an idea of what it might look like, look, silver dipped as well. Silver pulled back in and was able to find some support and then trended up. So then you do look for, it's just that simple. Like, I do look for the long in one case where it's falling back into the open, but in the other, it just never happened. And so you don't necessarily want to fight it. You can get away with fighting a stock, but if it's not part of your plan, because the support level doesn't even try to hold at the open, then don't be involved. Sometimes the bounce is in the pre-market. It's entirely possible that in silver, that support at the pre-market lows If this doesn't hold here at 930, then I'm never long silver just because it was good early. Like it held early, same thing as a firm. The pre-market off the level I liked was good, but that doesn't mean it's going to be after the open. You have to be willing to not trade something because it is not doing what you were expecting or what you were looking for. That's the idea of having a plan of action. It's like, I mean, to use a football analogy out there, like if you call a certain play based on the tendencies of the other team, it's like, okay, well on first down, you know, realistically, everyone seems to think we're run heavy, so they're going to come in and they're going to stack the box, and you know, we're gonna switch it up on them, and then we're going to come out there and we're going to spread them out, we're going to send the fullback out, and it's not going to make sense to some people, and go empty and send the running back out in a pattern. And if you go to the line of scrimmage and all of a sudden they're sitting out there in a complete prevent pass defense, and they're going to go out there and say, oh shoot, they know exactly what we're doing. Maybe you're going to want to change that call. Or to a better extent, I think sometimes the easiest way to think about it in trading is, what is the worst possible scenario for a trade? And it usually comes down to exactly this. Maximum confidence, meaning it's an idea that you had at the top of your list. Maybe it's a stock you wanted to trade the most, or it's a price level that you'd like the best on that day. So maximum confidence met with zero sign of strength at the price you like it, let's just say, or zero sign of doing what you expected, right? Like maybe you expected there would be like a trend break or whatever, or there'd be a support level or a big size in the bid, but it doesn't happen. But it's on a stock or at a level that you like the absolute best. Because if something is wrong at the place in the moment that you feel the most amount of confidence, that's where your biggest loser is going to come in. And I think this is the thing that you've got to try to stay away from, which is, I had this plan of action. I put a note of 4 or 5 stocks every single morning, but very often you will flat out see me, you know, like on silver, I'll be trading it all day long. Like I'm in it like 5 or 6 times. Or like on a firm, it never set up. There was never a long setup that was part of my plan, so at no point do I trade it. There is nothing wrong with that, because ultimately sometimes you're going to save yourself a little bit of coinage that way. Like I'm looking over at Palantir. I haven't touched this stock all day long. Any ideas? What do you think I'm looking for right now? Not a single trade in Palantir, but it gave a trend break that was a big miss, but now it's got a trend break as well. You can wait for those chances. SMR, waited for it when I traded it on trend, but waited for it to break the trend and then played it long. Waited for it to break this long trend and then played it short. So until it's doing the thing that I'm looking for, I don't have to be in a trade. But you can be short early, and then I can be long, and then I can be short again, because there's an actual setup. So make sure you have a good plan of action, but just because the plan is in place doesn't mean it's the right thing to do in the moment. You are allowed. It's not like in the football analogy where you got to run a play, so hopefully you can switch it up. In trading, you don't have to. You can just wait for better and a more optimal opportunity to make a trade. So just because it's part of your plan, just because you like the level, just because you like the stock, just because you like the direction, does not mean that you have to force it if it's not right. So try not to fight stocks. I'm going to try to see what this chicken tastes like. I haven't even taken the saran wrap off, so I haven't really touched it. And it is 3 picks that we are making, although I figure the way I see it, you know, if at 3 o'clock we get into a discussion and it's like we can throw ideas out there. Like I have a few ideas that aren't going to be on my 3, but I'm going to probably find a way to discuss them anyways, just for the fun of it. But the shorting makes things interesting, I do think. But we did make, I don't know, Sharif, you might not know this, but with regards to the shorting, so for picks of 2026, we're allowed to make pick shorts, but they have to be widely held in an indice. Like you can't pick some small cap Mullen type thing to just be like, I'm shorting this because it's going to 0. That's not, we're not playing that game, because you know that's what I would do if it was that kind of nonsense. So it does have to be like a widely held name. Like you could short like Tesla if you wanted to, but you can't just pick on like Polestar or some nonsense. Like that. I don't know why I singled out Polestar. That's probably unfair to them, but whatever. It's probably a penny stock anyways. All right, so there's your lesson of the day. I'm going to enjoy my lunch and send you guys back to the midday. Go get them.
the wisest of us all. He like, this is the wisest thing. Short these crap EVs.
I think you
money.
should be able to do whatever you want, man. It's your pick. If you want to short Mullen, by all means, short it at your own discretion. No?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's what it is. But
I want the shorts to be engaged.
the locates might be a little bit hard on, especially our platform over here. You know how
I'm saying
feel
for the
about that.
picks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in reality,
Sharif, this thing has been driving me nuts as of late.
Don't
It's
even
so
get me
delayed,
started,
man.
bro.
It's so delayed, it's not even funny.
I don't know what's going on with it, but something's
it's
afoot.
so frustrating. All right, but what isn't frustrating right now for Sharif is the TQQQs as we take a little bit more off on that high of the day. A nice little pullback there. Silver started to sell aggressively, but bounced back immediately. I think this is going to be a good opportunity to add, in which I'm going to currently do so right now. I don't want to DCA until oblivion, but with such a strong obviously asset, I like our chances here on this ad. So I added another 20%. Let's see if we can catch that fill as it's continuing to climb a little bit higher. But let's see if we can get a new high here in the TQQQs. I mean, I don't have very much left, approximately 10% of my remaining position. A nice little low. Mike Peter Ryder, you heard what we were saying. Watch out for the liquidity grab south of the volume of the support zone, and then a nice strong move to the top side. So that's exactly what we're experiencing right now, and I think it can be continued.
To be continued, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that one.
All right. EVTV, we're done our trade on this one. Look, it just keeps putting in lower highs on the latest, price action look here on the 5-minute. It's 3 topping till candles in a row on EVTV. Even though it's up 237%, it still feels like the short sellers are in control. Let me make my case to you guys here on the black charts. So, first and foremost, you're still putting in generally these lower highs, right? That's number one. So you're looking at area high, another area high, and yet another lower area high. That's the first bearish look, at least at these price levels. And then when you look at a little bit more nuance, let's say from 1155 onwards, it's these topping till candles that can't really breach on any closing basis the $1.60 level. So I'd like for that area to clear, and then I can use the $1.60 as support. I don't want to be kind of just sitting there expending mental energy on this one when it's not really doing anything of worth myself looking at. Now, OMH is looking a little bit better. Now, this one suffers from the same affliction of the lower highs that whatever EVTV does, but it seems to have shown its hand a little bit more. There's certainly a seller, and there was a seller earlier on, I want to say right at 11, and then they've showed their hand again at 1150, and then yet again here at 1205 at that $1.65 area. So let's just say one mid-60s. What I want to see is a decisive clearing of that level and a closing of the 5-minute candle above that 165-ish area. Then I think we really do have a shot here to take out 175 and then maybe even make it into 2, as this one probably will squeeze a lot of people out, right? Because we're off substantially from that 175, bless you, into that 135 area. So I'm keeping a close eye here on OMH, even though, you could make the argument its best trade is behind it. I like the levels at which is trading, but I need to see a bit more. So looking for that decisive close above that 165 area, and that decisive close comes vis-a-vis a closing 5-minute candle above that. That'll lure me back into the trade. I can basically say absolutely nothing about up. We've been break even on it for the majority of the morning, where it's just been hanging out here at 102s, holding the dollar. I may flatten that out soon. And then UAMY is also falling into a sleeper. Now, what I was concerned with earlier, what I was looking at earlier was this one holding up off the 20, which it still is doing. Now, the problem is we're starting to get sort of a rounded shape on the top. That typically happens when you start putting in lower high candles successively. And that is kind of what it's starting to do here with this 1130 candle as kind of like the pinnacle of that rounding shape into that the 874 area. So I think I'm 3 pennies out of the money on this one. I don't like the look of this one's jib anymore, so I'm taking it out. We're going to flatten out on not EVTV, on what's it called, UAMY. Now we're break even on it at 57 is perfect. If it ends up breaking out, it breaks out, right? We can get back in, but I just don't want to expend mental energy on this one when it hasn't really done anything. OMH though, did. So now, if this candle was to close, and it still has about 4 minutes to close, this is a decisive break here on OMH through that mid-60s. In fact, this current 5-minute candle has a high of 170. Is it going to be that same nonsense where we spend all but like no time at that 170 level? We did that. Recall, 10:55, 11. We got into that 170 level, making that 175 high, and then all hell broke loose to the downside into 135. It doesn't seem as volatile this time around. In fact, it looks more of a stair step up. So I'm keeping my eye here on OMH. It's up 67%, looking real good, mind you. And I'm looking at weaseling into this one. Now I have to get out of up as this one is losing the trend on this. Let me just get out of that. I don't want it to fill my DCA. So let's focus here on OMH as this one gets into that 170 area here, Joey. I think I'm going to be looking at this one as we're about 5 pennies off the high of the day.
All right, man. This is my boy right here. Keep an eye on him. I keep an eye on your vlogs, that's for sure. There, Adam James abroad. Welcome to the Bald Club, Joey. Sharif, we got some Semenyo, baby, baller.
Yes, I heard.
Next please. Also, let's go MBIS.
They stole him from Bournemouth.
Much love, gents.
No,
yeah,
they didn't
much
steal
appreciated,
him.
brother. I keep an eye on your vlogs for sure. Oh, I'm sure that's a football rep.
Yeah, Semenyo, he's an attacker from Bournemouth. City picked him up. Great player, bro. Great player.
All right, good stuff there. Yeah, brother, I keep an eye on your vlogs. I always watch what you got going on there. Much appreciated, as always. And I'm glad that you're cooking up, as you typically do. And then when he's not, he's just chilling out. He's like, hey, man, I'm just traveling. I'm doing my thing. And I'll get back to the market when it needs be. All right, guys, there's the TQQQs. But we were talking about the ad on SLV that is really starting to work out for us right here as we're starting to approach the high of the day, right back to 7.6% positive in today's session. Now, let's see if we can get a little bit of a grind higher. I would add more to this position because I do believe that we can head up into 78.50, and with strong conviction, you must put on lots of shares. So there is SLV, the TQQQ starting to come in. Watch out for the support level to be broken. So we'll go over this one more time. If this cracks and then the momentum starts to pick up, maybe we'll get out of Dodge once again. I only have about 10% of my remaining position, so we took the majority off. Approximately right here, this was like 10%, 10%, 10%, and then boom, take the majority off to 21, 21, 21. Then I would have been all out if it was 21, 21, 21. Get that one there, Sharif. All right, but anyways, aside from that, guys, I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. If there's anything specific that you want to talk about, please put it in the chat.
Put it in.
Neil was talking about SMR. We're getting a nice little bouncer. What do you got there?
OMH is breaking out, guys. It's exactly what we were just talking about. There it goes. Your boy's in at 73. It is an 82 penny high. There's 81s again. OMH is him for the moment. We're looking for 88s next. Seller, monster seller at 83. Can't shake him. In fact, there's no prints above that 83 quite yet. That is still the high of the day. Nothing above 83s here on OMH as it's tapping now. 80% on the day. This one was just mid-60s as we were speaking to you. But there is aggressive selling into that 83 penny level. So look for a retracement here. Now, the question always becomes, is this the reversion or the micro pullback off which I can get more? Or if you're not into the trade, enter the trade. So that's what you're going to have to keep an eye out. You're going to have to look at the size coming in on the level 2, the amount of the sell orders, the hidden orders that comes in on the time of sales, because you're not going to see that on the level 2. All the nuances we always speak about with small cap gapper trading. Let me just give you some data here. Prior bar low, 161, prior bar high, 183, current price 80. So we're in no man's land here. You can't really DCA with substantial size and manage risk into the prior bar low, but you're also like a couple of shekels off the high of the day. So this is where I struggle a lot. If I hadn't got in at 63, I'd be kind of at a loss of what to do at the moment. That's just kind of the problem with trading these small cap gappers into highs. So here it's zigging, it's zagging. I'm posted at 88. I'm looking for continuation. I've got a bias that this one glances at 2. Now that we've taken up the 175, is just, does it do it in a straight line? Or are we gonna have to make do with some of the earlier price action where we make highs, drop back down? 83 seller again, sorry, Assassino, 83 seller again, we can't shake them. There's a whole bunch bunch of hidden sell orders at 83, no prints above. That is the double top now. Prior bar high 83, current bar high 83. Tell them what you're looking at, Joey.
All right, guys, PDS Biotechnology, Nasdaq PDSB. It's transforming how the immune system targets and fights cancer with initial focus on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancer. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers are projected to become the most common type of head and neck cancer in the U.S. in a few years. Learn more at www.pdsbbiotech.com to find out some more. Sharif, you got something going on there. Silver slow. Wow, it was a little hype, but I didn't really have anything, to be honest with you. I just had to end that like that. There goes the TQQQs continuing its slow grind. Now, I think we can break this level. We're getting silver to slowly pull back in as well, but I do like our chances. The longer the consolidation, the bigger this breakout can be. Let's take a look at it at the 5-minute. Consolidate, baby, consolidate, and then sure enough, a nice breakout to 78.50. You just need to have diamond hands and have the ability to sit in this until it does. Otherwise, if it does break down, just be cautious, get out, and then re-engage, because I think we're going to continue to climb. Oh, and I was doing a little due diligence last night.
Okay.
Out of the past 34 sessions now, only 9 of them, in silver that is, only 9 of them have closed red. Wow. Yeah, right? Crazy. So, like, I mean, if you want to talk about a solid winning percentage, put your money where your mouth is there on silver, and it seems to be doing the case there, Sharif. So a nice look. Out of the past 34 sessions, only 9 red ones.
Wow.
And I like our chances on that one here in SLB, and that's why I'm going to stick to my guns. We had a couple nice trades on silver while you were gone.
Okay.
So why not go back to it if it's working, Sharif? And that's the narrative of this game. If it's worked once, if it's worked twice, third time's even more of a charm, guys.
Get it. All right. Back into OMH. So we scalped up everything there, flattened out break even. It does hold my prior trend line. So I'm looking for this one to hold this 165-ish area. We're in at 67. I'm looking at wetting the beak, I believe, at 72s. It just popped into 71. So it's a double top into 83, but the current bar has a higher low than the prior bar. As I mentioned, prior bar low was 61. So I took the opportunity for a bit of a dip to get in at 67s. Now let's see if it holds trend and pops back up. It doesn't have to take out 83 aggressively on the first try, but it's so long as it continues to show me those higher lows. This current candle has about another 2 minutes left on it, so we'll have to see, does this current candle breach prior bar low or not? So packing the patience on that one. I've really got nothing else other than this one. Got out of my UAMY trade. That one lost trend. Got out of up as well. That one lost trend. EVTV looks like it might be weaseling its way back, but I'm going to need to see that one close and hold above 160. So for the time being, I'm going to be focusing all my energy on OMH for this one because it's a midday breakout here, getting into the high of the day midday. So not, in the earlier time of day or the pre-market, showing you good strength. One other thing I wanted to mention that I've said very little about, and I should have been saying more about, because even though it was a bit of a slower trade, there was ample amount of volume and it was very stair-step up-ish. Now, you could have sized in substantially on this one because ASST is like $1.09 trading at the highs. And each of these candles here, like this candle's got 2 million shares. Prior candle, only 187,000, but the one before that had 470. 373,000, so there was ample amount of volume here on ASST. It's up 14.75% on this name. So let's see what this one has to offer us. We're going to keep packing the patience on this one. OMH got stopped out for the last remaining amount there. We didn't actually get any prints, so I shouldn't say the last remaining amount on the ad, but that one is losing trend pretty aggressively. Let's see if it holds up at the 10 EMA, which is $1.60. It's already breached the prior bar of the 1215 bar. So I don't want to be quick to jump into this one, as this one's basically pulling back a little bit off that 183 high. So let's give this one an opportunity to set up either at 155 or 160. And then we'll see what we'll do with that one. But nothing else for me at the moment. Not really liking any of these small cap gappers weaseling their way onto the scene. I'm just having a look here at the chart on my scanner above to see if there's any new ones. SLS was also spoken about a lot by you guys, and I didn't really even put it on the side chart, but let's have a look at this one now. Not a Fluffy Hippo was telling me certainly about SLS as well as others. This one pulls in off 420 into 4, holds 4 really well, as well as the 10 EMA on the 5, and now it's at 405. So this one's curling right back up here. Let's take a quicker or a more in-depth look here at SLS and see if this one meets the criteria for an entry. What does this trade on? The NQ, yeah. So it's showing 404 on the bid, 405 on the ask. Let's see if this one wants to come back down into 4, possibly hold 4. Other than that, I really don't have any other trade other than to say to base your entry on that $4 area. If it loses 4 substantially by like a couple of pennies, it didn't. Basically, since it reclaimed it at 11.28. So if it loses it there. I wouldn't hold it south of 4. We're gonna pause for a second. We're going back to the big desk.
Days ahead of Taiwan Semi's earnings report here, which is going to be Thursday morning, we do have the New York Times reporting that apparently a U.S. deal with Taiwan would include Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing. Unclear exactly what that means or how that would be implemented. New York Times also reporting here that a U.S.-Taiwan trade deal could be announced this month. So again, we could get a U.S.-Taiwan trade deal announced before the end of 2026 of January, which could have some implications here for Taiwan Semi. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that, Derek Gorev. Take a look at this here. I mean, the wick is long. Obviously, we don't love that. The tighter the wick, the tighter we can have our stop. But a nice hammer candle right here on INTC. So the volume might step in, especially if we break this 44.61 level, and maybe we can get a grind. If you grab a couple shares and let it touch into that high of the day, which I think it has the ability to do so, considering the market is still hovering around those neck of the woods. So INTC, not a horrible play whatsoever, in my opinion. Tesla was definitely the trade, and this is what I was talking about. You don't chase on the breakout, you wait, and then sure enough, my guy's like, hey man, wait for that 450 level to come into play. Breakout comes, retest the previous resistance high, acted as support, and then now you're climbing up to 454 and no signs of slowing down just yet. This is a big time move. The previous pivot high of around $499. We're down 10% off of that level. I like our chances to continue to climb and breach those zones. So Tesla might be in for a solid year of 2026. Considering, like, hey, if we get a rotation out of the chip names, I think there's room for Tesla to climb outside of that. Why? Because you have the autonomy and you have the robotics. So Tesla could still be a potential tech trade. Tom Lee says you might see a pullback here. But you know, Danny Ives is still remaining bullish, thinking that you could see another 10 to 15% returns here. So, I mean, which one? Pick your poison. I'm not going to go against it whatsoever. You won't catch me shorting NVDA or AMD or Broadcom or any of these chip names. But you can rotate and find some other potential emerging markets, whether it be AV, the robotics, quantum. I think that's going to be some solid opportunities here in the overall market. And silver, Sharif was talking about it this morning, they tend to trade longer in the same direction. Well, how long have we been into this silver trade? It was lagging gold for quite some time, but then decided to play catch up really aggressively. And who knows how much longer? If you go into a multi-year bull market, we didn't break out until the middle of summer, Sharif.
Yes,
and
sir.
From that point, this is GLD, that is, you're up 37%. We'll head over to SLV and see what we got going on. Holy cow. What a breakout. You're up 117% off of those August levels in SLV, brother.
Bleeding. Bleeding in the opposite. Sorry.
What was it? What would that be?
Rock? I don't know,
just
bro.
gains, man.
It's just pure gains.
It's just gains.
Pure gains. All right. We got into SLS here at 04s. We're going to give this to a skosh below 4s, but I'm still watching OMH because this one did lose 60. I put a breakout trade for 67 on this one. That's prior bar high, which was the opening print on the prior bar. But it does feel like it's losing the 10. It might be on the way down to 150 again. VWAP is at 155. 150, of course, is the whole dollar level. Let's see, does it hold prior bar low? It is for now. Prior bar low was 157. Current bar low is 158. So holding up for now at the 10 exponential moving average on the 5. Let's see how this one trades. I don't need to jump into it too quickly. Also keeping an eye here on EVTV. But I feel like this one's stair-stepping up. Here's what I mean by that. Remember we were talking about that 140 to 150 range, and then we got that decided break above 150, which lured me back into the trade. Now I feel like it's a 150 to 160 range. So it's doing a range step, I guess. Now, if I'm going to trade it that way, I get in towards the low 150s, and then ideally I give it a bit of room because it does have a tendency to kind of wick down below. Now, it is putting in higher lows if you're looking at the 5-minute chart, but it's also putting in lower highs. So you have a bit of a compression pattern there. I'm going to get in with a starter position here, and I'm going to look to DCA into the $0.50, with this area being my out, which is the low of 147. So we give it to 146, and then if it loses that level, it loses me as a trader. So that's what we'll do. We've got, I believe, on this one, on EVH, we've got, what do we got? EVH 156s. So let's go ahead and see if we can take some profits here towards the high end of the range. How we doing on everything else? SLS, EVTV. OMH just lured me in again. Okay, so I put a breakout trade on OMH for 167, so it did fill. So this one is holding. It's holding the 10 EMA. Did wick below it twice. Current bar on the 5-minute has a higher low, and now it has a higher high than the prior bar. So how this trades and whether this is bamboozlement central or not, we'll have to find out here, but we're going to look to post at 171, and then we're going to post a little bit higher than that into 77. So let's see what OMH has to offer. A very clear area out for me is going to be the mid 150. So let's go ahead and throw that on there, and we'll give it just a little bit of room to see what we can get on that. So that's my look there. How's SLS doing? Nothing to report on there. OMH doing nothing as well. And EVTV, okay, we got into this one at 53s now, showing me 53s. We're going to play this as a range though, recall. So let's see if we can get some prints here now that we're a little bit lower on this one at 57s. Looking for the range to hold up as well as the higher lows here on EVTV. Back to OMH to see what this one's doing. Up into 69 it goes. I'm looking for a beak wetter at 71, so it's going to have to print above 70, but it's already breached prior bar high. There's 70 there. Looking for a continuation above that, looking for 71s, as I mentioned, nothing doing yet, Joey. So we're gonna pack the patience here on OMH, and we're in EVTV, OMH, and SLS. Let's see how they do.
I love hearing that, guys. I think I'm gonna hop in a little bit of SMR here. I better get in it quickly before it starts to go out of my way. So I'm gonna be in quite a bit of positions, but I'm going relatively small right now. Nothing outstanding. I'm using about a quarter of my risk per trade, so not too much, or that I typically use from a size standpoint. So we're going to get involved in some SMR. If it breaks the LOD, hasta la vista, baby. We're going to get out at approximately 80, so we'll give it 10 cents from here. Oh, there we go. We got to fill. Instant ITM, so that's never a good sign. Why was or OTM, sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Instant OTM right here on New Scale Power. We had the short here earlier in the day, but it bounced right off of the volume weighted average price and then started to grind higher. So this is where we were short up here. We get that move, bounces off VWAP, prints this hammer candle, and then off to the races it goes. So this is what I'm thinking on this specific print, considering we've just had a pretty aggressive pullback down 2 3/4. But once it heads into 1980s, there might not be a bottom found. And if you head over to the day, this is what I'm talking about, just trying to make your days a little bit easier. I don't know if there's going to be any signs of a strong recovery here in New Scale Power, considering this is a red print, but we'll hold on to it and we'll be patient. SLV is starting to come aggressively against us. That is not a positive sign whatsoever. Of course, when we're in it, it stops the channel trade and now starting to show some topping signals, some failed highs here and consistent lower highs as you're heading towards some support. But I like our chances of a potential bounce. We're in SMR, we're in TQQQs. I have 10%.
Holy, I've never seen you into so many trades.
I know, but in all fairness, I'm not like in size that I would typically.
Yeah, I know. Usually that's like mine is like the one with the scroll
yeah. But in all,
I like it, bro. I like
100% transparent. But I mean, hey.
It is what it is.
Again, small size. Yeah, it is what it is. I meant to take less trades today and this year, which I have been, and it's been working out really well. So let's see if this is going to work out for us first. But yeah, I mean, what I would typically have in one position, I have that spread amongst 3 positions right now. So
makes sense. Yeah, hey, what's the difference there?
Yeah,
risk is risk, baby.
Exactly.
There goes OMH taking out prior bar high. Where are we in, man? We're in at 68. We just wet the beak there at 72s. Looking for continuation, though, so the trend looks good on OMH, but you can't fall in love with these small cap gappers. They will break your heart, take your house and your money, okay? And so we want to wait here for the confirmation above that 183. That is the high of the day on OMH, up 68 and change. I do like the trend, but as I mentioned, but anything can turn on these ones in a dime. So I've put my stop exactly where I said I'd put it, below prior area low, which takes me into the mid 150s on this bad boy. How we doing here on SLS? We're exactly break even. You know that Mercedes SLS?
Yeah.
You know about those ones?
The SLS?
The SLS, the two-door where the wing,
yeah, I think so.
Things go up, yeah. So that's what keeps reminding me of this SLS trade. And then EVTV. I'm trading this as a range until we get a breakout. I have a bias that we were 140 to 150 range before. Now we're kind of 150 to 160 range, building a position into the 150. So I do have a good fill on this one, but I also have no prints to the high side. Nothing to show for that good fill, quote unquote. So we'll see what we get, and we won't get upset. Shout out to my man, Neil. Now, how we doing here? Back on OMH. Again, OMH, higher lows, higher highs, but you get that drop right back down once it clears 160. So this one's showing you its propensity in struggling about printing anything above that 170 level, excuse me, on any closing basis. There's been only 2 candles on the day that have actually closed, on the 5-minute chart that is, above that 170 level. That's a 1055 candle as well as a 1215 candle. So let's keep an eye on that. Back now to EVTV as that comes back in towards the lower end of the range. I'm not changing my plan on this at all. It loses that mid 140 area, I'm out. Simple as that. Drops back into 50, shoots back up into 54s. That tells me there's buyers, just like myself, at that 150 level. We'll have to see if the buyers have more orders than the sellers. You know, remember when Obe responded in the chat when Wayne was asking about why this went down that day, and Obe was like, yeah, there were more sellers than buyers, and he threatened him to remove him from the chat, from the group chat. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I don't know why I said that, because I just said that exact same thing. Oh, there are more sellers than buyers. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Anyway, so keeping an eye on all 3 of these. We'll see if they end up doing well. James Della says, Mr. Worldwide, you're still getting all that Mr. Worldwide love. All for love, says BDSX. Man, I've been keeping my eye on BDSX all day. Does seem to have a seller here, though, at 60s. And this was an exact area we had support earlier. Look at that. All the prints there off 60s defended. Now we come back into 60s. We're being met with some resistance. So BDSX, you got to be careful with, because we...
Yo,
we broke out aggressively.
Mike P guy, man.
I love Mike P. Ryder. He's hilarious.
Bro, he's hilarious.
I did get caught on the halt up, which is good for BDSX, but look what it did. It dropped right back down super quick. So you're going to have to be careful with BDSX, because it's already shown you that it's the bamboozler in chief, up 55 and change on the day. I like this one above that 875 level, I'd say. 875 gives us a bit of a buffer. You can put a breakout trade on it if you want. You just set your order, hey, buy above if price hits above this, a simple if-then statement. Other than that, I'm just going to steer clear for it for the moment. Joey, tell them what you're looking at.
Yeah, all right. So SMR is not working for us. We're trying to catch a falling knife right now, and on the 5-minute, so you go over to the higher time frame, there's nothing telling me really to buy. I mean, you get into the detail, but you also have to correlate that with the HTFs, and it doesn't seem that it wants to be working out for us right now. So I'm going to hop out of SMR, and then we're going to put something else on our chart. We have the TQs. We've added a little bit more into silver, and now it's starting to bounce. The Nasdaq is starting to come into our break even, so we're all out of that one. Let's head over to SMR and get all out of that one, as it's not working for us either. So we're just going to hold on to silver and allow this to kind of cook up throughout the intraday session. So I'll go from 3 to approximately 1 position here momentarily. Let's see if we can get this. Unless we get this bounce, if this 1-minute candle breaks, then we'll just get out of dodge. Buying pressure. This is the only reason why I started to get involved. A nice hammer candle here, some volume, and then sure enough, we're starting to print an additional one. But as soon as 1977 breaks, then we'll get out of that trade. I tried to add more on silver, to be honest with you. I don't want to get overly aggressive in the DCA, but just considering we're consolidating, we're starting to continuously form these 5-minute hammer prints and indecision. I like our chances, so I'm posted up at 77.60s, and I'm going to double this up. So it's going to be the majority of the size is going to be right down here in this this neck of the woods on SLV, and then that's when we get into the area in which we want to. But yeah, adios to SMR. We're going to put that somewhere else, and then we're just going to focus on SLV. We're out of the TQs. That was a nice trade for us. It took us 2 attempts. I was short initially at this zone, messed up that one, came back, was patient enough, and I told you guys, wait for the liquidity to grab south of this support zone. We get it, a nice move to the top side, and we get the bulk off, and then we only get stopped at about 10% or a little bit less there. So APLD, some buying pressure, consolidation, double beat on the earnings report. Now you're starting to see a little bit of a climb. So if you are looking for that long, lower end of the range, and if it does crack, well, then guess what? Your risk to reward ratio is relatively tight, and you can get out exactly when you're supposed to. Adara, what do you have for us?
SRPT, this is Sarepta Therapeutics. Looks like it's dropping here as the management presents at a conference, very likely the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference that's been happening this week. But either way here, SRPT on the move to the downside amidst comments from management at a industry conference. Back to you.
Beautiful.
Call?
No, go ahead.
Let me ask you something. When you got your money back from that whole debacle with the airline,
Air Canada,
that was Air Canada?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. How quickly did you get your money back?
A couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks after submitting?
So submitting, yeah, so probably the process in total was probably about like a month and a half.
A month and a half. Okay, that's fair.
Roughly.
Because my flight was 4 hours delayed. And you know what 4 hours means now?
No way, that you should get something.
$4 bills.
Was it AC?
No, WestJet. Okay, so I want to beef WestJet here for the delay, but I also really want to give the nod to WestJet.
Dude, all right, yeah, let's hear what you got here.
They are internet undefeated.
On the plane.
5 hours there to Aruba, 5.5, a little bit more than 5.5 on the way back. The entire time I'm on YouTube and I'm talking crisp speed. So listen to this, Joey. Their internet is brought to you by TELUS. I'm like, TELUS can't do this, bro. We can get out of here. So I'm on Grok, right? Because I'm on my iPad. So it's basically TELUS using Starlink.
Yeah.
On WestJet, and Starlink is him. It is unbelievable.
So,
dude,
a lot of flights delayed on WestJet. Selena's flight was slightly delayed on the way to Tulum. We flew differently.
Okay.
Just because I told you about what was going on with that before. Anyways, so they're kind of having a labor dispute, just like Air Canada. Like Air Canada is. So that's why there's a little bit of a delay. So apparently, what would happen to a bunch of people that were on earlier flights than us is that the crew got there. They said, "Oh, we've worked too much," and then they had to wait for that new crew to come in.
Crazy.
Right? So that's probably what happened. And then there's a couple flying from Mexico to Calgary. Their flight was delayed like 5 hours.
Their flight was delayed. No, ours was, there was a mechanical issue with the flight that was supposed to come get us.
Yeah.
So they had to switch it, and you know when switching, it takes forever, so.
Oh, yeah, okay, that too. That as well too. They had a lot of.
That's $400 for your boy.
There you go.
Yeah, so I was cussing on the way. I'm getting $400. So you have to wait 72 hours from the time you land. So I landed Friday, I think like 6:30.
At night?
Oh,
that's bogus.
Yeah, whatever. And so you got to wait till Monday night to submit the claim. But they pay a portion of the trip there, man. So
that's sick. That's good, man.
The real Gary F. Aruba is everything that I dreamed. I had gone back in the day 2001 with my family. It was great at the time, but now it's just it's amazing, man. I got
I've never been there.
It's really nice. It's really, really nice. Very it's like your regular Caribbean resort settings, but I just really like everything super clean.
I think
it's like a different vibe. It's like they have their own language. It's like a mix of Creole, a mix of Spanish, Dutch, obviously. So they have like that whole. It's a different vibe than any Caribbean country I've ever been to because of all the different cultures that are like.
It's a smaller island too, isn't it?
It's super small, man. Yeah. It's very much South America. You look at the terrain, doesn't look like North American terrain at all. Looks very much like South America. But I was worried, bro, because that whole Maduro thing happened while I was down there on the 3rd, right? I got there the 2nd. I'm like, no, because it's right off the coast of Venezuela. Yeah. Like right off the coast. There. So
okay, so it's close to like Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, Guyana. Yeah.
Right on.
So it was really good. I really liked it, man.
I didn't know it was that long ago.
Did you go to Gianni's? No, I didn't. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. That was spoken about a lot. I stayed at Barcelo, and Barcelo was a vibe. It was really good. So I have nothing bad to say there. But WestJet, best internet in Canada. Again, they're using Starlink. Yeah, dude, it made the flight entirely like manageable. Because you're watching 20-minute, 30-minute clips on YouTube. So 2 clips, you're killing an hour.
I will tell you my routine right now so I can sleep on the plane. So typically, the night before my flight, I'll just stay up. I'll watch like a reality TV show that's based in the Caribbean or something. On those lines,
okay.
Right? And so you get the vibes and everything. But then when you get to the airport and you get on the plane, if I can knock out for 3 hours, then I can just be like fidgety for the next hour.
That's the move. If you didn't have the internet, like if you're on Air Canada, and Air Canada, from what I'm hearing, is still hot garbage.
Free. It was free, the internet?
Yes, man.
Wow.
Yes, and everybody's on it. And there was no lag. Everybody, like the girl's next to me, she's watching her professor, like she was like a younger university student.
Yeah.
She's sitting there on her iPad watching the lectures live, streaming it. People in front of me, people behind me, and there's no lag. Like Starlink is ridiculously good. And I think all airlines should have your customer experience will go through the roof if you have that there, and people don't have no reason to complain.
But Sharif, if we're speaking of roofs, brother, we're gonna take a look at SLV as this is really starting to cook up for us. This is what I'm talking about. The bulk of our position starting small, and then we get that nice move to the top end of this range. We're gonna piece a little bit out, and you're gonna see my average go down drastically here on SLV. We'll take approximately bang. What a fill there!
Nice,
Instant
Joey.
fill, Sharif. Okay, all right. I'm like, whoa, okay, what's going on there? So yeah, you can see the average drop for us on to 61s. Now it's 30 cents ITM on SLV. This is what I'm talking about, just sticking with the strong names. We're gonna take a little bit more out, 33% more, boom, a nice move, and that's exactly what we wanna see on SLV. You can see the average drop because the bulk of my position was down here, first in, first out, and boom, a nice little move in silver.
All right, let me know, Assassino. All right, guys, I got to tell you something. Savvy Canadian traders, are you looking to boost your exposure? You can now tap into the Nasdaq 100, the S&P 500 with Beta Pro 3x daily leverage ETFs, which feature a built-in FX hedging strategy. This aims to amplify short-term market moves, minimizing the impact of currency swings. So whether you're feeling bullish or bearish, these ETFs are built for active day traders that are ready to take on the market. So read the full risk disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. Shout out to the great folks at Global X. Good look there. Unlike the look that I had on OMH, we were singing this one's praise. We're taking Prince to the high side. Then it lost trend. Finding support now off the volume weighted average price, 155-ish, but it stopped me out along the way. And now it's still got a lower low and a lower high. So yeah, we'll give back a little bit on this one after making some money back on it. Initially, we were red on it, then we got green. Now we're red again on it here on OMH. So keeping an eye on this one. Also, I'm starting to feel like this range here on EVTV may give way. And the reason is because, well, we keep putting in lower highs, and we've been hanging out below 155 now for, I want to say, about 10 minutes or so. Ever since 1232, it's 1248. So I don't know how this one ends up doing. I've given it a little bit lower. My stop is a little bit lower than that 150 area. I've put it below this 1217 candle at around 146. So we'll see if this one can catch a bid again. But SLS is moving up for the first time in a while here. So let's take a quick look. We're in at 04s. I've got the beak wetter at 07s on SLS. So let's pack the patience, pardon me, and see if that one can work its way up. What time is it? It's about 10 to 1. We have too many news items today. It was only 12 pages on the morning note as opposed to the normal 15, but we'll get to it. I think we'll start the news segment at around 1 o'clock, but there is important stuff to talk about, obviously not the least of which the Department of Justice, as you may already know, has filed or launched a criminal investigation into Fed Chair Powell for the renovations there for the Fed building, which have apparently reached $2.5 billion. So we'll get more onto that and the implications for the markets. A lot of other stuff to talk about as well, guys, not just that. So stay tuned with us here. So keeping an eye here on OMH, keeping an eye here on EVTV as well as SLS. And I'd be remiss if I didn't keep an eye on BDSX, because BDSX is still a monster in the day. This one, I did get caught in a halt up. We did quite well on this one. It's my biggest winner on the day, but it is definitely you know, past its prime, so to speak, still trading below 8.5, 8 3/4, and it does look like it may be making its way down into $8 where the volume weighted average price is. So no move on this one quite yet for me. Joey, tell them what you're looking at, sir.
Same thing, man. We take a little bit more off at 78.05 here on SLV. I'll add more to this because we just went and almost attempted to put in a new all-time high here on silver and a break of the high of the day. We didn't quite get there. Now we're starting to reject it. But this inverted hammer candle at the 1 minute, on the 1 minute, at that specific zone, something to be cautious about. But what we will look out for is an additional print that says, hey, we're going to flip things around. And if that's going to be the case, I'm going to get aggressive and add a little bit more because SLV has definitely been our better performer here on today's session. The TQs, same thing, put in a new high of the day coming off of that zone. So nothing to be overly worried about. What has Tesla been up to, considering we did have that aggressive breakout and on volume starting to come back in a little bit. So we'll run through our scans here and see if there's anything that's eye-popping and say, hey, we need to take this. What is I actually haven't even looked at Robinhood. Now we're only doing 3 picks. I think that kind of changes the game quite a bit. Now climbing up to 119.62. Inverted hammer candle on the 5. What is the lower time frames telling us? Nothing really. And Gaurav and I agree on this. It's not the easiest thing to short, even though it is consolidating right now. I think the next step is once this downtrend is broken, you can snap this, sit on the backside of it, and continue. Speaking of breaking downtrends, what has Costco been up to? I mean, now that I think about it, yeah, see, there it is. Like, this is what I'm talking about. You break the downtrend, Sharif, and off to the races you go. And I think that's going to be the exact same narrative. Obviously, comparing apples to oranges, 2 completely different sectors, but same technicals. And we've seen it on multiple names, whether it be NVDA, there's a couple more, even on Microsoft. So Robinhood breaks that. See you later. Now, as for Netflix, it's the same narrative. Something needs to happen. You need to break this downtrend. And once you do, I think you can get somewhat of a bounce. So I'll sit on this. 85s is going to be my out in my swing trade. If it does head into that zone, then I'm out of there and we're going to find something else to potentially trade. And that's probably going to be silver or gold. Just buy at these highs and allow it to grind higher for quite some time. I think that's going to be the continuous move. Sharif, I mentioned not too long ago, out of the past 34 sessions, you only have 9 of them that are green, are red, which is absolutely insane. So why wouldn't you want to start to invest in this, considering if you have the Chinese buying this handover, just like they were doing with gold? Remember, Brendo brought us that graphic as well, too, on how the gold reserve just going absolutely parabolic. But what's going parabolic right now is what we're exactly talking about. That is SLV, my brother. Let's take a little bit off the top. Another 30% right here. Let's see if we can be fortunate enough to catch that fill at 78.10. That's where I'm going to post up, and I ain't going to bid any lower, brother. There it is. Bang. Nice fill on SLV.
Attaboy, Joey. All right. Yeah, the trades are kind of slowing down a little bit now, at least for me. But there was this one mentioned by somebody in the chat, S-Dot. Let me give him credit. Tactical Monkeys. Shout out to my man, Tactical Monkeys over there. He's saying, look, S-Dot got a nice price spike up and some good volume came in. Absolutely right. It's up 44%. I should tell you, this is a $4 3/4 million market cap. So tiny, relatively speaking, of course. But SDOT, it doesn't have that much volume. I mean, we're midday already. Well, in fact, we're later in the midday, 1 o'clock now. It's only done about 700,000 shares, but look at these 2 volume bars here showing you the volume is coming in more recently as opposed to earlier. It also traded quite sparsely, but hey, the move up is the move up. And it's also not that expensive of a stock, of course, trading at 368, 396 high. VWAP is at 340, 10 EMA is at 330. So it's one of those anomalous situations where because the price action develops so quickly, the VWAP or the volume weighted average price is higher than the 10 EMA, not typically something that we see. Usually the 10 EMA follows the price a little bit more closely than the volume weighted average price. So SDOT in focus. Keep an eye out on that. But I was going back and forth there with Chicago 1807. He was disparaging Starlink, but he had good reasons. He was saying basically it's not that secure. But I was asking him back and forth. He was like, look, man, if you're on Starlink on the airplane, you're basically anybody with a Nokia cell phone can hack your stuff. So I was asking him back and forth, does that apply as well to people with VPNs? Then Farzi was answering, I guess, on behalf of Chicago, saying no, not with VPN, but many people don't use VPNs. I always use VPNs, and I'll tell you why. Because the government here, not the current government, which I actually like, and I've made that point very clear, but the previous genius that we had running our country decided we needed to be babysat. And we don't get, in other words, we don't get on our social media any of the news outlets like we're talking about, you know, CNBC, Morning Brew, Fox News, Fortune Magazine, Financial Times, anything that's a news outlet, we're kind of prohibited from seeing on social media because our not the previous. I already explained that. The news are the social media companies don't pay the news outlets for having their news content on their social media platforms. So as a result of that, they just removed it altogether, and they said, we're not going to pay them, but we're also not going to put it. So if you're in Canada, you've known about this for a while. That is, of course, unless you use a VPN, and then you get to see everything. So I've been using a VPN for a long time now as a result of that, and I just happen to use it on my iPad. I happen to use it on my phone since I'm paying for the subscription.
Over-regulation just makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest with you. I feel like if every new bylaw that you implement, you have to remove an old one.
That's been, a lot of people have been saying that.
Right.
A lot of people are saying, if you want to bring in a new regulation, you got to take an old one out. I've heard that. I've heard that theory before.
Over-regulated. And
I've heard that theory before.
Choking. Like, Obi brought this point the other day. It's like, it's not as easy to start like a business. And think about all the hot dog vendors that used to be on the street. You don't see any more of them.
Of course not, because you
have to pay now.
Pay homage to Olivia Chow.
Exactly. It was even before Olivia.
I know, man.
Yeah,
I'm just taking a shot at her.
Yeah. But, I mean,
I'm not.
Well, she's done a fantastic job in the city.
Very good. There's no potholes. All right, let's get down to work. You want to start you're good with the news? Or do you have anything to cover before that?
No, I'm good. I'm just sitting in this trade right here. I'm going to look for other things. So, yeah, let's party.
All right, let's get down to work, guys. I'm just going to load up my version of the notes because I don't litter the other one with all my highlighting, but you guys are going to have to put up with the highlighting here. All right, let's talk about this Fed probe into Fed Chair Powell, which is causing market jitters, as you can see. Well, they've recovered somewhat. The Dow is the only one that's negative on the day. Everything else has moved into positive territory. But here it is. Federal prosecutors are conducting a criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chair Powell, better known, of course, as Jerome Powell. The investigation, though, is centered on that $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve's Washington headquarters and his testimony to the Senate about that specific project. Powell said the probe, this is Powell's words yesterday, stems from political pressure by President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly criticized the Fed chair for not cutting rates enough. The Department of Justice, so let's go into the details now, served the Fed with a grand jury subpoena, which is tied to Powell's Senate testimony back last June. The investigation is going to be overseen by the U.S. Attorney General's office in D.C., and some of you may know the person who's going to lead it. She used to be on Fox News, known as Judge Jeannie Pirro, I think. She used to be a judge, and she was on TV. Now she's back in the U.S. Attorney's office at D.C. Publicly, though, we already know President Trump has criticized Fed Chair Powell's leadership as well as the renovation costs, claiming that it could exceed $4 billion. Two names circulating have been talked about a lot as potential replacements for Fed Chair Powell, Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett, of course. Some of the names. Evercore ISI, they're warning of a potential, quote, not my words, they say sell America trade with downside pressure on equities, bonds, and the dollar, all the while gold and safe havens could benefit. So my question to you is, okay, I'm going to put this question to you.
Yeah.
This is an election year, not for the president, of course, but
Fed.
for the, what's it called, the Senate and the House in the midterms in November. Interest rates are high. People are complaining about the cost of living. Is he doing this investigation, number one, because, yes, the costs are exorbitant and he wants to put pressure on him to keep costs down? Two, because he wants to move him out early and have his replacement cut rates early enough in the year so that the pressure of rates is felt before the midterm elections, which are in November, and which historically the incumbent party almost always loses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or does that not matter?
No, I think what Donald Trump here is he's just trying to remain strategic, right? And I think he's going to remain that. He always place the blame on someone else other than himself.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I think it's a smart move because he wants his party, obviously the individual that he wants to run the Fed. So if he can get JP out as soon as he possibly can, he's going to do everything in his power that he can. He did the same thing with Lisa Cook.
Right.
Right? So it's just the same thing. He wants him out. He wants the rate cuts. So he's going to do everything that he can, regardless of what it is.
He'll just throw whatever, and what sticks, sticks.
That's what he tried with Lisa.
Okay.
Right?
It's an interesting take. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see if that works. But anyway, Adira, give us your take on this evolving saga.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting story. And I think one thing that I do want to mention is, according to Kevin Hassett, who, again, as Sharif mentioned, is one of the leading contenders to take over the Fed chair position, Trump actually was not briefed on this DOJ investigation. Now, according to Representative Anna Paulina Luna, she is the individual here in Congress, in the House here, who actually referred the investigation in the first place. So reportedly and allegedly, Trump was not part of the equation as to how this investigation actually got going, though, as we know, he is certainly not a fan of Fed Chair Powell. Now, I do think it's interesting here, as Sharif mentioned, and I really want to touch on this because there was this whole meeting last week where Trump had all of these Republican leaders, and he basically said, you know, usually we're not going to be winning the midterms. We really need to focus here on the economy as a strategy to win the midterms. So if that is the goal, I think it's one that makes sense. But A, again, you have to consider the fact that Trump reportedly wasn't even briefed, and B, I actually think it's going to be having the opposite effect, at least as of right now, because you already have some people in the party, including Senator Lisa Murkowski and Senator Tom Tillis, kind of turning against this anti-Powell stance. Furthermore, he's going to get his pick in the Fed chair seat in May of 2026, so I think speeding up the exit of Powell only serves to have further division, especially heading into the midterm. So that if that is his strategy, we'll have to wait and see how it goes, but as of right now, proving to be a bit divisive, to say the least.
Yeah, well, I think the Fed has been divisive for years. What I feel is a little bit differently is the exercise of open power, whereas prior you had seen soft power. Like we always talked about the Fed not raising rates until sort of after the midterms during the Biden administration, and then, you know, aggressive rate hikes after that. I don't know. I just feel it's been politicized for a while, but this is the first time you're seeing it really open. And by the way, I just want to mention one thing. JP Morgan Chase's headquarters in Midtown Manhattan, the one that's at 270 Park Avenue, cost around $3 billion. And that thing's a skyscraper. Why is the Fed building costing $2.4 billion in DC and not a skyscraper? And if you believe what President Trump is saying, that costs could balloon to exceed $4 billion, why is this so expensive? I mean, I'd like an explanation. I'm sure there is one, but maybe better money management would have been warranted. Does that warrant, though, a criminal investigation? Yeah.
I mean,
in
that, can you find conflict of interest, hiring certain contractors, et cetera, hence charging the most amount?
There better be, right? If we're talking criminal. Because criminal is
you would
like
probably want to look for.
Criminal doesn't necessarily mean if you're negligent, if you're just a dumbass, right? That doesn't mean that you're criminally malicious.
No, but
right?
I mean, I think the people at the Fed are relatively smart and they know what they're doing, right?
Exactly.
So I don't think things are just going to slip by them at the end of the day. If it's there's obviously hands in each other's pockets and everything along those lines.
Yeah, and we know that in construction businesses, a lot of kickbacks. You buy a little bit too much, and right, you know all about that life. All right, let's go to the next story. Gold, as well as silver, of course. These precious metals rip to record highs as policy as well as geopolitics risk collide. Gold surged to fresh all-time highs, above $4,600 an ounce, extending a powerful risk-off rally. Prices were already up 6% on the year after a 65% gain all of 2025. The momentum here in the precious metals has really been driven by a rare alignment of policy uncertainty, of course, from the current administration, geopolitical shocks, and there are no shortage of that. More on that in a second, as well as macro tailwinds. And then, as we just mentioned, of course, a criminal investigation now into Fed chair Jerome Powell's injected fresh policy risks. Investors are increasingly pricing the possibility of an earlier leadership change at the Fed than what we had anticipated in May, and lower expected rates reduce the opportunity cost of holding non-yielding assets like gold, which amplifies the upside pressure, right? Renewed tensions as well involving Iran. A lot of people, whether you believe them or not, they're saying that country's on the precipice, right, of overthrowing their government. As well as the U.S. military operations in Venezuela. And now we're hearing about possible Cuba being on the verge of because Venezuela apparently was subsidizing Cuban oil to the tune of about 30,000 barrels per day. That accounted for about 50% of the amount of oil that Cuba used to, keep the lights on and fill up the cars. And that now apparently is coming from Mexico, but it's still not being subsidized, nor is it as much as what they were getting from Venezuela. So a lot of people saying Cuba could be one of the next dominoes to fall there. In any event, even where conflicts quickly resolve, markets are increasingly pricing persistent multi-region instability. And then it doesn't help as well. Of course it helps if you're a net buyer of these precious metals. Central banks, they're expected to remain net buyers of gold as they diversify away from the dollar exposure. We talked about that earlier. And HSBC, Joey, they see momentum potentially carrying gold towards $5,000 an ounce in the first half of this year, not even the second half.
Yeah, I don't see anything that's going to slow it down. Obviously, as political tensions continue to rise, you've seen the rotation in somewhat of into these hedges. But I kind of want to sway this conversation because we've seen it in the past, but we're not necessarily seeing it right now. But the transition and kind of the rotation into digital gold. I think that's something really that we should, and what is digital gold? Obviously Bitcoin I'm referring to. So I like that we're seeing this continuous move. Sharif told us before, like, hey, when we see this in commodities, you have that multi-year consolidation, and then now we're on to a breakout. I think that's going to be the exact same thing we're going to see here in silver. August, we've been up substantially from that point. We're up 20% this year as well, too. So I think it's just a hedge against what we got going on geopolitically.
All right. Just make sure. Sorry, 1 second here. All right, let's go on to the next story. Walmart, this is an interesting one here and less, politically sensitive for everybody in the chat, but Walmart teaming up with Google to push their AI-powered shopping forward. Let's talk a little bit about this. Walmart and Google have announced a partnership that will let shoppers use Google's Gemini AI assistant, of course, to discover and buy products from Walmart as well as Sam's Club. The feature will launch in the US first, and then it's going to come internationally. We don't know the schedule, nor do we know the financial terms between the two companies, like how much they're getting, et cetera, et cetera. Walmart also is responding to changing consumer behavior, as we've seen a lot, where shoppers are increasingly starting their shopping or their search in an LLM rather than going to like Walmart.com or Target.com. They're starting it in the LLM. So they're just basically like, hey, let's just meet them where the shoppers are. And this complements the earlier account that we saw from Walmart. They were tying up with ChatGPT for that instant checkout feature, which allows purchasers directly inside chat. Walmart's deliberately, though, kind of hedging its bets. It's not working only with chat and Google. It's working on a multi-platform AI, including Gemini, ChatGPT, as well as others. The company will also continue to develop its own in-house AI. It's called Sparky, and you should probably see Sparky right at the landing page for the website there. You can ask it all sorts of questions. Hey, I'm looking for this type of product. What do you recommend, etc. So it shows you like they're taking a multi-pronged AI approach to reduce platform risk. And the incoming CEO, John Furner, he framed AI as the next major retail evolution, and he emphasized that the speed and the convenience from I want it to I have it is the real kind of tailwind here that this has. We're going to pause for a second. We're going to get Joey's opinion for a sec, but we're going to get Adara. She's got news.
I actually have 3 stocks to talk about here, 3 completely separate catalysts all coming out at the same time. Meta on watch here. CEO Mark Zuckerberg apparently announcing a new top-level initiative called Meta Compute. It's going to be led by Santosh Janardhan and Daniel Gross. I'll have to find out more about these individuals and put them in the chat for you. Next up, we have Ford. F is the ticker for this one, of course. Bouncing off of intraday lows as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announces that Trump will be touring the Ford factory tomorrow. So nice look here for F. Last but not least, Warner Brothers weighing in here on Paramount Skydance. We know that there's been more updates here with regards to PSKY apparently suing for information in its bidding war. WBD saying that Paramount, quote, continues to propose a transaction that our board concluded is not superior to the merger agreement with Netflix. So again, WBD, META, and F all on watch as we send you back to the guys.
Thank you very much. So what do you think about this? I mean, we saw this before with chat, right?
Yeah,
so it's not new for us.
No, it's not new. It's not new for chat. But I like this move specifically for Walmart. Why? Because the e-commerce segment is continuously taking market share from Amazon. Right? And this is exactly what you want to see, those progressive steps forward. And that's why I'm going to continuously like Walmart for the foreseeable future.
I like it. I know the Katina man was talking about it today. He was talking about Target as well. So good look for WMT. This is kind of an extension. I don't want to say of the same story because this is a Google specific story. They're really throwing their hat here into the AI-driven retail commerce push. Let's talk about it. They unveiled a new protocol and they're calling it the Universal Commerce Protocol, UCP. And they announced it. There's a retail conference right now. It's called the National Retail Federation Show. And it's positioning itself, Google, of course, or Alphabet, as an open source industry standard for AI-powered retail. So UCP is designed to unify the entire shopping flow. We're talking from the discovery of the product, the checkout, and the post-purchase support. It's all being integrated. So retailers don't kind of have to need to stitch all these different components of the e-commerce segment together into fragmented systems, so they're all going to be consolidated in one. And then even better for businesses, I feel like I'm selling this for Google, but even better for businesses, apparently, according to Google, is that you can selectively adopt the parts of the protocol that you want to use. So you don't have to adopt it as a whole or en masse. If you've got part of, the post shopping support that you already like, you don't need to incorporate that part. You can do the checkout and you can do the shopping and the payment systems, etc. So the protocol is apparently compatible with existing systems, which reduces, of course, the friction of switching, which can be a bit of a headwind. And Google openly here is competing with OpenAI. They're competing with Amazon, Perplexity for control of where the shopping journey begins. We just finished talking to you guys about this, about people are not going to Walmart.com, they're not going to Target.com, they're going into chat, they're going into Gemini, they're going into Claude, Perplexity, and they're saying, hey, I'm looking for this, this, and that. Where's the best deal? Or, where can I get these products together? So that's what they're basically trying to focus on here. And we know OpenAI's instant checkout, as well as their agentic commerce protocol, which is built with Stripe, by the way, has emerged as a parallel standard to this UCP by Google. Amazon as well. They're not just sitting idly. They have this Shop Direct and Perplexity. They've teamed up with PayPal. We reported that to you guys not that long ago, which enables checkouts at within the chat itself. So Google said, just to conclude here, that UCP was co-developed with major e-commerce platforms. We're talking about Shopify, Etsy, Wayfair, and Target. So you feel that maybe those names specifically may be benefiting from this UCP sooner rather than later. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what you want to see, right? You're starting to monetize because when they are checking out via Gemini, via ChatGPT, well, guess what? They're going to get a small portion of that transaction fee, and then that's how they're going to start to continuously monetize this, and that's what you want to see from an ROI standpoint. We're spending all this money, but how are we going to make that money back? And this is where we're going to start.
And can I say one thing? Like when you're putting in the information and going back and forth with Chat or Gemini, the receiver of that, whether it's OpenAI or Google, gets a way better understanding of what you want and what you are of a person than some just one-line Google search.
Exactly.
And so think about the targeted product advertising.
You're training it essentially.
Yeah, man, they're gonna know exactly what you like and how you think, and I think the product and the targeting advertisement is just gonna, if you think they were listening on the phone now.
I'm telling you, dude, I'm telling you that this is, how long ago before this even started, we're saying, hey, what is it that we're going to start to see? It's ads we're going to start to see here on these LLMs.
We already know that.
That's just only a matter of time. You think you're going to check out without being able to see an ad? Good luck.
No, I don't think. It's coming, baby.
It's not going to happen.
It's absolutely coming. All right, let's get news from Madeira.
Keep an eye here on any potentially tariff-sensitive names. We have a new Truth Social post from U.S. President Donald Trump on tariffs. Keep in mind here, we were expecting to potentially hear about the Supreme Court on tariffs on Friday. That didn't happen, but I'm now seeing that we could either get more details potentially as early as Wednesday, but more realistically, maybe even heading into June with the next major decision date. That being said, here's the post, and I quote, "The actual numbers that we would have to pay back if for any reason the Supreme Court were to rule against the United States of America on tariffs would be many hundreds of billions of dollars, and that doesn't include the amount of quote-unquote payback that countries and companies would require for the investments they are making on building plants, factories, and equipment for the purpose of being able to avoid the payment of tariffs. When these investments are added, we are talking about trillions of dollars, exclamation point. It would be a complete mess and almost impossible for our country to pay. Anybody who says that it can be quickly and easily done would be making a false, inaccurate, or totally misunderstood answer to this very large and complex question. It may not be possible, but if it were, it would be dollars that would be so large it would take many years to figure out what number we are talking about and even who, when, and where to pay. Remember, when America shines brightly, the world shines brightly. In other words, if the Supreme Court rules against the United States of America on this national security bonanza, all caps, we're screwed, exclamation point. President Donald J. Trump, back to you.
This is an interesting development, too, and the reason is because I don't think the Supreme Court is going to be kind of tied with whether or not the U.S. Treasury Department, can pay this back. Number two, I don't think it should set the precedent for presidential powers because, they're going to have trouble paying it back. That's kind of on U.S. Treasury. And then thirdly, the administration has already made it very clear. If they lose this Supreme Court case, they're going to come at tariffs from a different way using different laws. Yeah. So do we get is this issue moot, or are we going to get a different result because the tariffs get, kiboshed on the fentanyl or whatever grounds that they're being, I think it was the IEA or whatever
I just
he's
think
using.
It'd be a bad look all around, especially if it doesn't rule in the favor of, so.
Of course, it's not a good look, no question about it. I'm just talking about like the net effect, right? Anyway, all right, let's go on to the next story here. Apple, well, not even Apple, global smartphone shipments rebound in 2025. So Counterpoint Research came out with research note today, which said, according to their numbers, smartphone shipments globally rose 2% year over year for the year of 2025, and they were driven primarily by emerging markets where improving economic momentum and replacement demand for those markets supported the volumes. Apple, though, maintained its leadership position with a 20% of global market share. I didn't really peg them to be leading here. I figured they were a premium device, they wouldn't be leading. But apparently they are 20% of the global market share, the largest among the top 5. Demand was especially strong in emerging and mid-sized markets, and sales of the iPhone 17 lineup were a key contributor to Apple coming in first. Samsung ranked second, but not by far, 19% market share there, and Xiaomi, the Chinese brand, is in third, I should say, with a 13% market share. Counterpoint, though, it's not all sunshine and rainbows because 25 was a good year for cell phones. In fact, they're saying they expect cell phone sales to soften into this year. And the reason is they're going to be semiconductor supply constraints as semiconductor manufacturing companies like Taiwan Semi and Samsung and others, they prioritize the majority of their output more for AI as opposed to handset demand. So if that ends up being the issue, we could kind of feel like maybe the microchip shortage. Remember back in 21 and 22, there was a semiconductor shortage? And it was like nobody could get their hands on semiconductors because you put those in washing machines, you put them in dryers, everything. And nobody was working because of COVID, right? So the demand was outpacing supply.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
What do you think of this whole thing?
See, it's funny to think that considering we never really got that full release of Apple Intelligence, Apple was able to put it up a year that it did. I don't know if we hit the super cycle levels, but the iPhone 17 sales have been absolutely phenomenal. I think it's going to remain that way. Apple's going to hold its dominance in the space, 20%. Shreve, we may as well call it 33% because Xiaomi is essentially an iPhone, the Chinese version of the iPhone.
They make no bones about it.
No,
they're not even trying to hide it, bro.
They're not even hiding it. So we'll call it 33% there. I don't know. I think it's going to continue to lead. It's not going anywhere. And if they do release, they're teaming up with Google's Gemini as well.
Yes,
that could just lead to another strong cycle within iPhone sales. The shortages, high levels of demand doesn't mean that the sales won't be able to continue.
Darwin says, where are the Trump phones at? Yeah, where are the Trump phones, Darwin?
I one?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Hey, hey, hey.
I don't even know that many. I don't even know that many.
Don't stop the party. Hey, hey. Who's your favorite? You like Mr. Clean better, or do you like Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide?
No, Dr. Evil.
Oh, where was Dr. Evil there, Ram Ram? Come on, Ram Ram. Oh,
Freaking
come on
lasers.
now. I'm playing. You're a good sport about it, bro.
There's one that's not necessarily allowed here on this channel. Yeah, we'll go with that guy.
Hold on, who?
You want me to type it for you? So
Yeah,
you can see
yeah.
where- Can you read my screen here? Don't pull my screen.
Pull it, Asesino. I don't even know who that is,
You
bro.
don't?
No. Okay, I'm assuming it might be, sure. I already figured I know exactly what industry you're talking about now.
He's a man of, exactly, many professions.
All right, let's go on to Alibaba, because Alibaba is having a hell of a day today. Where's it at right now? Baba's up 10.5%. Here's the deal. Alibaba's cloud flagship Qwen family of AI models has now surpassed 700 million downloads on Hugging Face. If you know, you know. Research from AI Base shows Qwen downloads in December alone exceeded the combined downloads from Meta, OpenAI, and other Chinese peers. What the hell? I'm assuming that's obviously on Hugging Face as opposed to all of them. The milestone positions Qwen as the most popular Chinese open source AI model globally. I gotta pause for a second here. DeepSeek is hot garbage. I was asking DeepSeek to tell me about the Maduro capture, and it was like, yo, you're hallucinating, bro. That didn't even happen. So it's like it can't even go onto the internet yet unless you hit the search feature on it. So if you're asking it naturally, tell me what happened with Maduro. I was trying to go to DeepSeek to see what the Chinese were possibly saying about the whole capture there, and it didn't do well. So I get that Qwen is better than it. Anyway, Alibaba's open source approach spans a wide range of model sizes. We're talking about from 600 million parameters down to about tens of billions, which allows the developer here to kind of tailor the performance and cost to their needs, so you don't have to take on the whole thing if you don't need it. The consumer AI push, though, this is what people are really loving. They love that Alibaba has embedded the Qwen model into multiple consumer-facing products. We're talking about the Qwen AI Assistant, the Quark AI app, and the AFU health application, all of which Qwen has been integrated into. And the move signals a strategic shift from monetizing AI, not just through cloud services, through Alibaba Cloud for B2B, but for B2C, business to consumer, which is also obviously very accretive. Alibaba shares are up over 87% in the past 12 months, and it's trying to reposition itself as a serious AI platform rather than just simply the e-commerce company we all knew it to be. And reports suggest out of China that because China's possibly allowing a large number of H200s to come in, this boosted up the optimism about Baba, which I'm sure you guys reported on last week, because I think Baba was up about 5% last week on this headline. There he is. There's Dr. Evil, bro.
There you go, man. Good stuff. Thank you for that, Ramin. Good job.
Good job, Ram.
As John Von Sores likes to say, he was saying, "Hey, Ramin, good job." It wasn't even at work. I'm like, "Yeah, she does a good job." Thank you very much for that. No, in all seriousness, guys, we're in some silver right now at the volume-weighted average price. APLD moving relatively strong. We got a nice pop up here, but if it breaks VWAP, we're gonna have to get out of dodge on SLV. Hopefully, the buyers step right in, but the momentum does seem like it's slightly to the downside. But as for Alibaba Group, let's pull this name up here and see what we got going on. LABA or BABA. Listen, I mean, it's been phenomenal as of late. It's been a solid performer. Head over to the daily. You're not too far off of those previous pivot highs. Again, these guys are just building data centers everywhere. The investing and obviously the expenditure is there. Qwen model. I've never personally used it. Shreve says that DeepSeek is absolutely garbage.
It was not
You
good.
get a nice 76% bounce, or sorry, 17% bounce off of that $144 low, 15% to be exact. I think that they're going to continue to climb higher. You're just at risk of these obviously overnight gaps. But what we're seeing from Alibaba is just continuous improvement. You've now broken the downtrend line. We've seen this over here. Bang, 147 snaps, now trading 20 points higher from that specific zone. I like what Baba's doing.
What?
What the hell?
What the hell?
I'm just looking at this because there was a Real Madrid parts ways with Alonso? Real Madrid said Monday that coach Xabi Alonso has left the Spanish Giants by mute. No way. Alonso out? That's crazy. He didn't even get an entire year. Why didn't anybody tell me anything, man? Xabi Alonso got fired. Well, a mutual consent, but that usually means, you know, he got the door because they lost to Barcelona in the Super Cup. I know, brother, I know. I saw it. They were doing it in Saudi. I saw the whole Super Cup there was in Saudi. Wow, that's Xabi Alonso out, eh? Dang, okay. Let's go on to the next story. A firm was up earlier. Let's see where it's at right now. AFRM, where are you at? Nope, a firm is down now 5.5%. So part of the story won't be accurate anymore, but part of it will. Let's talk about it. U.S. financial stocks and lenders sold off after President Donald Trump called for a 10% cap on credit card interest rates, according to the report. Should start on the 20th of January, but the proposal raised immediate concerns around the profitability, the credit availability, as well as the regulatory overreach to do something like this. You had American Express. I don't know where AXP is right now, but it was down 4.3%. Likewise with Visa and MasterCard, which all slid about 2% in the pre-market. The buy now, pay later outlets, at least initially, were doing well. Affirm was up about 5%. Block and Upstart as well had nice bids. But strategists here are concerned. They're suggesting a rate cap could benefit these buy now later providers if banks tighten credit access, which is going to push consumers towards these more alternative modes of financing rather than through regular unsecured credit. Speaking of unsecured credit, several analysts stress that imposing a national interest rate cap would likely require congressional approval and could exceed presidential authority. So what I was talking about with Brendo this morning was two things. One, all these points that we all accumulate on our credit cards, that's at the expense of somebody else. It's somebody carries a balance forward. They have to pay a high rate of interest. Those who pay off their balance and get the points, they kind of reap the rewards there. That's one. Two, think about like from the bank's profitability perspective, right? You're like credit cards are one of the more riskier unsecured forms of loans, right? So you have to account for that risk through these higher rates. So I'm not vouching or I'm not trying to defend these higher rates at all. What I'm saying is for their own business models though, can they actually be able to weather a storm where the rates are maximum of 10%? We're gonna have to find out, but what do you make of this whole story?
This is what I kind of wanted to caveat your points thing.
Let's hear it.
Cool. Points are great. You get to travel with them. You get whatever it may be. But what would you rather have? Higher debt levels or less points? You know what I mean? I think the points thing is right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, hey, we know the debt levels are climbing. People are buying things they can't necessarily afford.
Right.
I think you want to eliminate that, obviously, and it takes a long time. People, you mentioned it before. I have friends in that situation where it's like you will almost never pay that off if you're making the minimum down payment.
No.
You're just paying off the interest.
It'll take like 50 years or whatever.
Forever, right? So it's like, oh wow, I missed out on a couple flights to whatever it may be, South America or whatever it may be, right? No, I think that's essentially irrelevant. I like the 10%. It's not fair how the credit cards rinse people with the interest rates.
Okay, let me just put this question to you though. If they've built their business model and they've done their accounting on being able to charge 25, 27%, then President Trump comes in, let's just say for the sake of example, he has the legal authority. I'm not saying he does. Let's just say he does have it and he caps that. Don't these companies all of a sudden scramble? Like, how are they going to be able to balance their books with, you know, maximum 10% interest rate?
No,
they get in some trouble too.
Yeah, they're going to get into trouble too. But I think there's going to be more individuals who this is going to work out for than what it is going to for the corporation.
Okay, I respect that.
Right, and I think that's a little bit more important. 10%, and they'll be able to adjust. They'll get their money in other ways, maybe higher fees, maybe higher registration fees, but continuously charging individuals 20+% on their credit card. Yes, I get it. You shouldn't be buying things that you necessarily can't afford without paying it off relatively quick. but people aren't that financially literate. And you're going to see people damaged, and people are going to be in credit card debt for the remainder of their life. And I think that needs to be taken.
And a lot of people do struggle with that. Let's just call a spade, yeah.
So it's like, so what? I don't get the flight that I wanted to, or whatever it may be, or the car rental. I think just being more stable and not accumulating debt is more important.
That's more important of a societal interest.
Exactly.
I respect that. That's a fair point. All right, Adair, let's give us your take on this very controversial issue.
I have a couple of different points, one from kind of the fundamental standpoint and the other from the market technical standpoint. I want to start here kind of off of what both of you were saying, but especially some of these comments from Joe. Anthony Noto, CEO of SoFi, said a lot of the same thing here in response to this issue on X. I'm just going to summarize the post. I can post it in the YouTube chat if anyone actually wants to read it in more detail. But basically, he's saying that if this is enacted, which he does think is a pretty big if, though he would like it to happen, he thinks there's going to be a resulting significant contraction in industry credit card lending, but consumers are going to still need to access credit, right? Which creates a void that he believes SoFi's personal loans are best positioned to fill. He thinks it'll be easier to simplify marketing because then they're not going to have the same type of competition, of course, with these banks in terms of having to market it versus what the banks offer. He said that the SoFi personal loans at 9 to 13% offer a lower rate, basically saying TLDR that less credit card lending could actually translate directly to more personal loan demand for SoFi. So that's, I think, an interesting look there from CEO Anthony Noto of SoFi on this issue. So you can hear it from one of these BNPL loan fintech type plays themselves. Now, in terms of the market reaction, it's kind of interesting because initially, as Sharif mentioned, we had a drop in these traditional banks and credit card companies, and then a gap up here for the likes of Affirm, SoFi, et cetera. But then we kind of did the opposite. We had these bank names go really well. Goldman Sachs here near intraday highs, whereas, of course, Affirm, as Neil mentioned earlier, taking a sharp pullback. So kind of the inverse. It makes me wonder what's going to happen if this actually does confirm, or does get confirmed here come January 20th, a week from tomorrow. So I think this will be a really interesting conversation to look back on in terms of A, does it come through? B, is it exactly how Trump has proposed it? And C, how will the market end up reacting given today's mixed look?
Thank you very much. I want to read some of the comments here because some of them were actually quite good. Let's start with Ichiro's. Would this possibly reduce the number of defaults? I'm going to go and just venture a guess and say yes, because if the rate at which you're being charged is 10%, as opposed to almost triple that, some people have 30, I think that becomes a bit more manageable. Whether you avoid defaults or not, I think it would be on a case-by-case basis, really depending on your own income as well as the amount of debt that you're carried. So I think there is some truth to that, Ichiro, and good call about you. And then Chicago 1807 brings up a different point. He's like, Sharif, you're missing the point. The companies are banks who get bailouts. Couldn't agree with you more. We've seen it in the past, but I've personally gotten the sort of feeling that this administration is not looking to bail out some of these financial institutions. That could be my perception, but I don't think that there's going to be bailouts for them as a result of this, maxing of the credit card rate at 10%. If some of them get into trouble, I think they're just going to be forced to default or be absorbed by other institutions who will take on their clients, like we've seen with SVB and some of the other banks that went belly up in March of 23. And then there were other good comments as well. I'm just trying to find them here. Lemon Family, great one. Sharif Joe, in Canada, do you have it in high school financial class? I personally didn't. I think they're doing it now. We'll check with the boys there in a second. They just started doing that here. Kids get money management before graduating. Most people never learn how to manage money. I can just speak for myself. They didn't teach us shit.
They didn't teach us anything.
Yeah. We didn't talk about credit cards. We didn't talk about, filing taxes, credit reports, credit scores, none of that. You had to kind of fend for yourself, or your parents taught you that at home, or whatever the situation was. So I'm just speaking for myself
over
here.
Look what bad credit does to you, Sharif.
Absolutely.
If you're going to take out money, say you wanted to, you probably won't. If you're in that situation, you're probably not getting a mortgage regardless, right? Like if you're in that,
it's going to be a minute,
right? You're not going to. If you 100%. Need a vehicle to get to work to pay off your credit card, well, guess what? They're going to give you the highest interest rate. Same thing with your cell phone, bad credit. You can't get anything if you have that bad credit. If you need somewhere to live, well, guess what? Your credit's no good. We're not going to rent this place.
Exactly.
Because you've proven to.
And every landlord's going to run a credit check now. Every single one.
Every single one. So I I think it's only, again, the poor financial companies that are charging you 20%, yeah, they're going to take a little bit of a hit. But as you mentioned before, I think it's better off for society to see these lower interest rates.
I respect that. I'm going to read a couple more comments, and then we're just going to go on to the next story. I want to give everybody an opportunity. Deleon, 12. Sharif, yeah, but the president should not be dictating this policy, specifically because of how the executive is trying to centralize power. I got to agree with you. I think that certain things need to go through the legislative branch. You know, how much power he has through the executive order route. The courts will be the ultimate deciders of that. But I do see what your point there, and I respect that. Top VOIP, Sharif. But look how useful the physics you learned in school was. All right, I'm sure it's useful for a lot of people. Maybe not myself over here punching into positions. I'm sure I'm not using it, but your point well taken. Chuck of all trades, Sharif. As soon as I turned 18, all the credit cards started coming in the mail. That was the same thing with me here. I mean, I know I would get them from my bank. I'll never forget my first credit card. It was a GM Visa, even though I never owned a GM. And it was offered to me from my bank, and it was $500. And I was 18, like I was almost 18 in like 2 months at the time. So I do very much remember that. Let's go on to the next story. ExxonMobil, facing political pressure in Venezuela. Now, we've talked to you about President Donald Trump, who publicly threatened to sideline ExxonMobil from Venezuela's energy market. Trump suggested Exxon's stance was too cautious, implying other oil companies could take its place if it does not move faster. In fact, I think he said they're being too cute, something to that effect, maybe not exact wording. Comments came shortly after ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods said Venezuela remains, quote, uninvestable under current conditions. Now, you have to understand why he's hesitant a little bit to go back in there. We'll get to that in a second. But Exxon and ConocoPhillips had assets seized by Venezuela in 2007. I think it was under the former president Hugo Chavez, of who Maduro, I think, was his deputy, if I'm not mistaken. Woods, the CEO of ExxonMobil, he emphasized Exxon would need major reforms before committing capital, including, 1, the change of the hydrocarbon laws, 2, the commercial frameworks and the legal system within that country. Trump is urging U.S. oil companies to collectively invest about $100 billion in Venezuela's energy sector, and he pledged the U.S. government would offer security guarantees, but he did not offer specifics on that or the enforcement frameworks or the risk backstops. Chevron is currently the only major U.S. oil company still operating in Venezuela. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, I think ExxonMobil's had their stuff seized twice in Venezuela. So you can kind of understand a little bit of here if they are a little shy, gun shy, whatever you want to call it.
I would be. Yeah. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that, Brian. Vickers, much appreciated. My friend. All right, we're long some SLV as well, too. Yeah, I would be a little gun shy as well, too. You don't really know what's going to happen. Wait until you get the green light from Mr. Donald Trump and himself, and then you can just go full steam ahead, I think, in my opinion.
Well, he is giving them the green light.
Oh, okay.
Whether they just don't want to because they're like, yo, bro, what's going on? We can't do anything over there.
Well, I mean, you're going to be backed by the U.S. government at the end of the day.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. But you know, they're still not about that life, Joey.
Not yet until they see the money, and then once the money
thing is, though, Chevron and Exxon are like neck and neck competitors. And the fact that Chevron's the only one operating there and they're not putting up a fight about investing more.
They're probably happy.
You know that their oil is like ours, right? It's that like heavy molasses style oil.
You have to extract it. You have to break it.
It's not like the Saudi where it's just super easy to refine.
It's frack and then.
But apparently all the refineries in Florida were all set up for that heavy oil because it was coming from Venezuela. So it's like they're ready to go there from the refining perspective in Florida. I'm not talking about from the extraction perspective in Venezuela. But Adara, let's hear your take and your opinion on the Exxon tie-up.
Yeah, this whole meeting was pretty wild. I did watch the whole meeting there. I did provide live coverage for you guys here, this Exxon Chevron COP deal. Now, there were other CEOs there, but they were quite literally an afterthought. At one point, in the middle of questions, President Trump just said, oh, do you guys want to talk and say your name and introduce yourself to people? Like, it was clearly the Exxon Chevron COP show. That being said, I think of the three, Chevron came off the best, but that's also kind of biased because they were really given the most opportunities to speak. In fact, even at one point, we did have Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, slip a note to Trump that was supposed to be secret that Trump ended up reading out loud saying, hey, we want to talk to Chevron more, give the floor back to Chevron. So it was very clearly the Chevron show with that in mind. Now back to ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods' comments here. It's interesting because I kind of wanted to look back at these with regards to the uninvestable quote. So they actually posted the entire statement here on the Exxon website. Kind of hard to read, but this is, like, again, the quote statement. So what he actually said here was that if you look at the legal and commercial constructs, frameworks in place today in Venezuela, today it's uninvestable. So not that it could never be investable, but at their current state, it would be difficult. He said that significant changes would need to be made to the frameworks and that he is actually confident the administration and President Trump could work hand in hand with the Venezuelan government to make those changes possible. He had mentioned, though, again, he was pretty hesitant. I'm not going to downplay the level of hesitance, but I think the context of that quote is important. Either way, I do want to clarify. Sharif said, yeah, I believe he said that Trump said they were playing it too cute. In fact, he did. That is a direct quote. Trump calling Exxon too cute in their approach. It's interesting, too, with what happened to COP is that I think they kind of stumbled because basically right out the gate, they ended up talking about $12 billion that they took in charges recently. Trump having some more questions about that, understandably, and the stock dropping after the fact. So I think of the three companies, CVX came off by far the best.
Yeah, sorry, guys, I just want to correct myself. I said the refining was in Florida. I misspoke. In the Gulf, so Louisiana and Texas are where the refining plants are for that heavy crude from Venezuela. Thank you guys for correcting me. Mike, I think in the chat as well as I can't even say this person's name. IGAUGEI. You know who you are. Thank you for the correction there. Let's go on to Taiwan Semi-Conductor. Where is this company at? Another 2 1/3 today. Is this all-time highs? I'm just going to have to quickly look here. Allow me a moment. No, we're like $1 off all-time highs or less than $1. Something like that. Looks like all-time highs, 333.08 today, 331.13. It just printed new high day. And here's why. They are expected to post a 27% year-over-year jump in their Q4 net profit, driven by relentless freaking AI demand for their chips. They're supposed to, well, they're forecasting a net income of 475 trillion new Taiwanese dollars. Of course, we're talking about the equivalent of 15 billion US dollars, and that would mark their highest quarterly profit in the company's history, as well as the 8th consecutive quarter of profit growth. So talk about catching that tailwind, baby. Any result above 452.3 trillion new Taiwanese dollars would set a new all-time high record, reinforcing their dominant earnings trajectory that they've been on. Q4 revenue for TSMC, they were expecting growth to come in at about 20.5%. They already beat expectations, which has been helped by the full utilization of their 3-nanometer process. More on the more advanced one in a second. And demand, we know where the demand is coming from, man. It's AI accelerators. It's Apple's iPhone 17, which uses the A19 chip, which Taiwan Semi builds, of course. Taiwan Semi remains the critical supplier to both NVIDIA and Apple, anchoring its position as head honcho in that field. The IDC now expects TSMC's revenue growth of 25 to 30% in 2026, up from prior estimates that they had. And their AI server accelerator market is projected to grow 78% year over year in 26. And the upcoming, this is the big one here, the upcoming 2-nanometer node is expected to be a major contributor. Now, why is that such a big deal? Because they'll be the only company that can actually produce that en masse. Now, we've seen Intel catch up with the 3-nanometer node with their 18A process. Intel also has the 14A node, but that's by no means complete. There's also yield problems, if you know, you know about that. And they don't make it en masse. It's going to be Taiwan freaking Semi basically monopolizing the 2-nanometer node, and that obviously has its benefits there. Faster than expected ramp up of overseas fabs, though, is actually a bit of a headwind because they're spending up the nose here to build these U.S. fabs in Arizona, and they're investing $165 billion in that. So that is having some, downward pressure as CapEx costs increase. Taiwan Semi, Joey, can they do anything wrong?
No, not at this point, especially with all the capex from these hyperscalers. I think they're going to continue on this path. You're not too far off of that previous all-time high, Sharif, only a fraction of a percent. Yeah, 0.75%. I think Taiwan's going to continue on this growth cycle. You're having the fabs built. Why? Because there's still an immense amount of demand for these chips, and I think it's going to continue on that trajectory for quite some time. Capital expenditure from Taiwan, well, they need to build these things. They're not running into any form of trouble like Oracle having to build and meet demand essentially, and it's going to cost them because the margins are just too low. I don't think that's the case here with Taiwan Semi. They're going to continue to grow at this pace, especially in the foreseeable future, until you see that capex slow down from whether it be NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, then they're going to continue to do the same.
For sure.
Over.
Yeah, and they're not going to produce if they're not buying.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
well said, Joe. All right, let's talk about UNH. Another day, another investigation. Okay, so the U.S. Senate committee has accused United Health Group of using what they're calling, quote, aggressive tactics within the Medicare Advantage kind of field to boost the risk-adjusted payments. More on what risk-adjusted payments means in a second. The investigation, though, centers on whether United Health systematically encouraged diagnosis that increased the government reimbursements without clear clinical justification. Let's pause for a second. You know my family is involved in pharmacies and medical clinics, and with our medical clinics, we have something called a billing agent. Those people are not doctors. They know how, I don't want to use the word game the system, but they know how to enter the codes that the government makes us use to build them for Medicare and practices. So those billing agents really know how to maneuver around the system. So there's all sorts of gamification that can happen in that. And the Senate reviewed about 50,000 patient records, and they submitted to lawmakers last year, which is kind of forming their findings. So what are we talking about here? The report is claiming that United Health effectively turned what was allowed as a risk adjustment into an actual profit center. So they were allowed to adjust some of the rates to adjust for inflation and increase costs, but they actually used that sort of allowance to actually make more money and not really adjusting for inflation or increased costs at all, rather than what they're calling a neutral reimbursement mechanism. Lawmakers allege some diagnoses were questionable, were inaccurate, or did not clearly tie the treatment to the conditions. These practices allegedly triggered billions of dollars in extra federal payments, which amplifies the regulatory investigation here. United Health already disclosed that it faces civil and criminal penalties, that it's being investigated by the Department of Justice. So this just adds to that because this investigation is by the Senate, not the DOJ. And they strongly disagree with the Senate's report conclusions, and it maintains it complied with all Medicare rules. The company framed the allegation as mischaracterizations rather than evidence of systemic abuse. What does the chart say, Joey, on UNH?
All right, I'm hella deep in SLV here, guys. We added some, we took it off the supply zone. Yeah, if you don't mind,
no worries,
send this one over. SLV working out pretty good for us right now. If it comes back to our break even, then we'll get out. But this is what I was talking about to Gorev. Watch out for the supply zone right at 77.40s. We were in long. I wanted to add right here because I knew we were going to get the bounce. It just never worked out how we wanted to. I couldn't catch that fill, and I wasn't going to get overly aggressive on that. But now we're starting to come back into that break even. We take a little bit, so now I have to get out of this position here right now as we come back into the break even.
All right, yeah. So UNH was negative on the day, a lot more negative. It's only down 1.25 now, so that's intraday. But let's look at the daily on this thing. Have we started recovering? Well, every time we seem to get in to the 200, whether the 200 EMA or the SMA, we seem to encounter resistance around there. So this is obviously the big dump that after the assassination of the CEO, and that was back, I believe, in April of last year. Now, from that high to the lows that we put in, I want to say in early August, we had lost 60%, more than 60% of the market cap or the value of the stock. Now, off the August lows to the current price action, we're up about 43%. The TA, though, it just feels like it's still in this holding pattern at around 325. You know, it has the odd breakout into 375, but more recently, it looks like 350 has been a top. If 350 is not a top, it's certainly 375. Now, we haven't even gotten anywhere near this 425 area or this 450 area where we had support from February of last year. So I say we're still definitely in this kind of consolidative look here on UNH, but maybe a move above the 200 moving average or a decisive move changes the opinion of some traders.
One thing to note as well, too, Shreve, I think is important. You see this gap down. This was just something on some bad news. I think it was, I forget what the catalyst was, but you touched that almost to the dollar, and then you sell back off aggressively. But yeah, you're right back into that consolidated form right there in UNH.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Uber faces a landmark trial over driver safety and liability. I didn't really read through this one because we're strapped on time, so we're going to do it together here. So Uber is heading to trial next week in Phoenix in a lawsuit brought by an Arizona woman who alleges she was sexually assaulted by an Uber driver back in 2023. This case is the first criminal-related trial tied to Uber's attempt to shield itself from liability for assaults committed by their drivers, who in most jurisdictions are not employees but independent contractors. We've seen that change in some jurisdictions. With thousands of similar cases apparently are still pending in U.S. federal courts. The verdict is being closely watched because it is considered a bellwether case that could influence settlement values or litigation outcomes across the broader Uber legal exposure, or Uber's broader legal exposure, I should say. Uber's position is as follows. It argues it should not be held liable for criminal acts committed by the drivers, citing their classification as independent contractors rather than employees. That's not true in every jurisdiction, but most of them, yes, they are. The company maintains that its background checks, in-app safety features, and disclosures are sufficient and that it cannot reasonably control drivers' actions outside the scope of their duties. The plaintiffs, they counter that. They say, look, Uber was aware of the widespread assault allegations and they failed to take the adequate steps to protect the rider safety. This is a big deal, Joey, because Uber is facing more than 3,000 lawsuits related to sexual assault claims consolidated in federal court, plus more than 500 additional cases in California state court alone. So this could be a big headwind.
I think it's going to continue to grow in that trajectory, in the bad way, to be honest with you. It's very tough, and as there's more drivers that come into Uber, it's hard to filter everything out, right? The more people coming in, you're not going to weed out all the bad individuals. I've known a lot of people who've ran into this situation.
100%.
But what also I heard is that now that you have the option to choose whether it's a female or a male driver, which I think is going to be extremely important, and you have to take advantage of that. It's unfortunate that these cases are happening, but we also know what may be to come with the autonomous vehicles that can help wave things out as well too.
Now you're talking my language,
right?
Right. So not only, so if this gets out of control and Uber is held liable for the actions of its drivers, and who knows how much money that exposes them to that they're going to have to pay out. Now the drivers are not only costing them one of their biggest fixed costs by being drivers and definitely taking money for driving. Now they're even more because then there's the sexual assault or the vicarious liability that they have to deal with here.
It leads to, okay, so you're doing background checks, but you should, I don't know how more extensive it can get, but you might have to take that additional step in order to
do more,
right?
You might have to do more, or you just might have to be liable. I don't know
what they're
you just might have to be openly liable.
Exactly.
Right? And
so
that's nothing you can do.
I don't know what else they can do if you're doing a criminal background check or anything along those lines, but they have to take as many measures as they possibly can.
This is going to be really interesting to see how it all ends up happening.
And could that lead to Uber being like, hey, we don't want as many drivers as we possibly had before?
I don't think they want them, Joey, because it's a high fixed cost. I hate to say it like this, because people will lose a source of income that they rely on.
Exactly.
But you think Uber gives a you-know-what about that? They're just looking at their bottom line and shareholder value.
Look what makes you think that Uber cares? Look what they did to the taxi industry.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
Right? So they'll just throw them to the side. I don't know. I think one of Uber's strengths was as well that they never really owned vehicles. They never owned anything, right?
That's a very good point.
And then they'll have to go to like, hey, we need to buy a 100,000 car fleet from Elon Musk or a million cars or something along those lines, right? Now you're like, I get it. So like you're eliminating one liability, but now you're also taking on another.
That's another good point. You're picking up
vehicles, right?
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this acquisition. We got a few minutes left on the show. Allegiant to acquire Sun Country in a $1.5 billion deal, so a buyout trade for those who like the buyouts. Allegiant Travel announced it will acquire all of Sun Country Airlines in a $1.5 billion cash and stock transaction. It's also going to include the debt of Sun Country Airlines. The deal values Sun Country at $18.89 per share, which is about a 20% premium to what the stock closed on Friday at. The transaction includes about $400 million in Sun Country's net debt and is expected to close in the second half of the year, of course, as always, pending regulatory approval. But what's the rationale for this whole tie-up here? Management says the merger creates the largest and most competitive, leisure-focused airline in the U.S. Both carriers cater to price-sensitive vacation travelers, especially the sun and leisure destinations with minimal, route overlap. Allegiant CEO Greg Anderson, he emphasized that the networks are highly complementary of one another, strengthening their pricing power without materially reducing consumer choice. But there are other angles to this. A key strategic asset is Sun Country's charter and cargo flying, which includes contracts with Amazon. Allegiant confirmed Amazon was consulted ahead of the deal, underscoring the importance of diversified revenue beyond passenger fares, because they do cargo as well. This provides downside protection in an environment of volatile leisure demand and rising airliner costs. So just tell you how this is all going to work. Allegiant shareholders, they're going to own about 67% of the combined company, with Sun Country shareholders owning about 33%. So very much a 2/3 to 1/3 split. And Greg Anderson would become the CEO of the merged airlines. And then the Sun Country CEO, Jude Bricker, who is a former Allegiant executive, by the way, he's expected to join the board, which smooths the integration. We're gonna pause for a second. We're gonna get Joey's take on this after, but we're gonna go up to Adara, who has news.
Keep an eye here. It's a small cap news piece actually here, Sharif. Immunity Bio, IBRX, Dr. Pat Soon-Shiong, who is the executive chairman of Immunity Bio or IBRX, posting that there is so much data to disclose for the company over the next few days. They're going to be announcing certain types of results, again, over multiple press releases. So IBRX has the exec chairman teasing multiple press releases full of data and announcements for the company. Stock is pushing higher. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that.
I mean,
what do you make here, Joey?
I think it's interesting because this obviously isn't one of the more popular airlines that we talk about. Like
I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to lie.
The amount of market share that these guys hold, you're not going to complain about what we got going on in the price action. So I don't know. I personally never heard of these guys. It's not too bad. 117% cash and stock deal. You'll take it. More cash preferred, I think, at the end of the day. But you're not going to complain about 117% with a massive gap up.
No, and that concludes a new segment, guys. Thank you for joining us. We always take the opportunity for the slower time of the day to really catch up on the news, do a little digging, get into some conversations, get different people's opinions. So join us every day for that. All right, guys, we're still holding one trade and one trade only. It's SLS. We're in at 404. We just got to the high of the day at 425. There's a huge seller here at 425 that we can't shake. It's once, twice. Oh, but he is the one thrice. 4, 5, 6. Now we're on the 7th rejection on the 1-minute chart here on SLS. It's up 22.5%, but it's got that 425 high day that it can't shake. So keep your eye on this one. It's not really, a rocket small cap gapper of sorts, but one that's moving up nicely nonetheless. Let's take a look at that one that Adara just brought to us. We're talking about IBRX with a fresh catalyst on the day. This is the daily on IBRX, just to show you exactly where we're at, right? Let's not get too excited. We're still very much within the range, but let's flip to the 5 here and see what we're kind of doing. Decent volume on this one, 6.71 million. A lot of that just coming in now, and this 5-minute candle has 713,000 shares. It takes out Friday's high, which was 243. Let me just update this here because it's not updating, Joey. IBRX. It's up 5 1/3% into the high of the day at 246. So be on the lookout here. It could be some support at 243 or 240, given the price action on Friday. But a nice few days here, man, of a whole bunch of higher lows here, coming from $2 and now back into that $2.50 level here on IBRX, up 5.5.
Good stuff there, guys. So SLV seems to be the trader of the day. We took multiple attempts on this, and it's still continuously working for us. I'm posted up at 77.10s for a break of the supply zone at 77.40s, but with a strong ask right here, it looks like you're going to be able to break through that momentarily. If the volume really does start to pick up, then sure enough, I think you're going to go, and it might be now. Look at the ladder on the ask, guys. You can see those at 42, 43. So there's a bunch of supply, and this is what I was referring to, Gorev. If we have the ability to absorb this, off to the races we go here in SLV. 77.10s would be more ideal. I'm not going to raise my bid anymore up to 77.20s, even though that could be a good potential move. If it does decide to break down, which I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case, considering there's a lot of strong signals across the board. Be patient, don't chase it, and wait for that pullback to come into play here on SLV. Oh, wow. Okay, it's almost 2 o'clock now. Yeah. I mean, it's only an hour until we do our picks as well. Did you come with more of an idea? There it goes, Gorv. Oh, my God. There it is, absorbed. Oh, I knew I should have just punched on that one. Yeah, that's unfortunate that we missed it on SLV, but we're not going to complain. We had some nice trades. It's definitely been our best performer here on today.
Hey.
But did you come up with, do you have a good idea of what your picks are going to be? No, not at all. Eh?
I'm going to have to look through some of the military names. I was thinking about getting into maybe some nuclear energy, or not nuclear. Yeah, possibly nuclear, but data center energies. But yeah, I feel like they're played out, but there still could be more upside. I haven't get a chance to think about it like the boys had all weekend, but we've got an hour now, so we'll have a look at that. Guys, we took out 425 now on SLS, high day 426. This one continues to stair step up. Well, I guess we'll wait for the Katina man to return before sending it back over to the boys, but we'll keep an eye out on, let's actually review the small cap gappers that we were looking at the day. OMH was great until it wasn't. This one has substantially lost the volume weighted average price at 152. EVTV as well, still above VWAP, but look at this. It's looking into like a flat bottom break candidate through 135, 133. It's a whole bunch of lower highs on this one. EVTV up though, continuing to trade, up. Despite the fact that we got bamboozled on this big aggressive downturn here during the midday, was trading above VWAP, spent almost no time below VWAP into 87 pennies, and now it just got back into that 110 high a day. But yeah, it hasn't really been the best day for these small cap gappers, but we'll see if we can do a little bit better tomorrow, guys. But for Joseph and myself, we're gonna send them off to the big boys now. I'll see everybody at the green screen, or at the green screen. I used to say that all the time. At the big desk momentarily. We'll be doing the afternoon rundown, and then we'll see collectively everybody at 3 as we all do our yearly picks, guys. Sending it to the big boys.
Thank you.